Welcome back to Pipe Dreams Podcast. We're at episode 21. We're here at New Jersey. Everybody's running from the hurricane. Hopefully we don't get some crazy weather here. It seems like it always happens on championship conditions. But anyways, we're here. We're back in Corey Alexander's rig, the big dog, the sea dog, the dog pound.
Back in the studio.
Yep, just making it happen. We've got an amazing guest. This guy's probably rode every single motorcycle apart from maybe a Bimota. But before we get
Don't
into
count it out. They're coming back.
Before we get into that, let's just go over a few things. One, thank you all to everybody that's commented, shared. It's been awesome. We've been growing really, really well. We've got a new guy on board. Billy's on board here, hooking us up. So thank you, as always, for the comments and everything. If you like it, comment. If you hate us, comment. We love it. And as always, let's roll into our sponsors, Law Tigers. They've been with us since day one. America's Motorcycle Lawyers. If you know somebody that's in a motorcycle accident, please call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. They've got your back. It's no cost to the rider. You never ride alone with Law Tigers. And then as well as our new sponsor, Yuasa Battery, the most trusted battery in power sports since 1979. For over 45 years, Yuasa has delivered power, reliability, and passion at every turn. When you setting the standard for power sports batteries since 1979. And Corey, with that, bring us in.
So we got the Frenchman, Loris Baz, Josh Herron's counterpart this season. Loris Baz 2024. What's going on, dude?
Yeah, all good. Happy to be here.
Yeah.
That's nice.
You've been have you been living in the US most of the season?
Yeah, I spent most of the time. I've just been back twice home. But yeah, my girlfriend came this year with me, so it was way easier to just stay here and just see some country and yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Just enjoy the...
One of you guys said you guys have like a big brothel or something in Scranton. All the guys live together in one house.
Yeah, like all the crew, all the...
I don't think that's brothel is that. I don't think that's what that is.
all the...
What's a brothel?
Dude, that's a where you going? That's like a hooker thing.
I don't know.
It was a joke.
Oh.
You don't like the joke, or what?
No.
Right.
The mechanics have a big house there, and then I live in Bobby's house, so the boss. But yeah, this year I spent most of the time just on the every time we had a race. My girlfriend was just checking what we can do in the area and just staying there. So that was cool. I didn't do anything in 21 with the COVID, so I just wanted this year to enjoy a bit more the rest of the time here.
So you've kind of lived everywhere, but what do you think about the U.S.? As far as living here, would it be somewhere that you would settle if you had a job here, or is it something where you much rather go back to Europe? That's where you're from, and you like Europe better.
Well, yeah, as you said, I've been living everywhere. I moved from my home when I was 10 with my mom. We moved to Spain to start racing. And then I just feel like I'm someone I love traveling and I love just moving. And I don't like to stay in the same place more than a couple of weeks. Even when I'm home after a couple of weeks, I need to call some friends and move and go to Spain or something. So it's just I could definitely live here. I spend really good times all year long here, all around the country. But yeah, as you said, I think it depends the opportunity you have in the life, and you live where you walk. So I don't know, but yeah, I could definitely stay here. I had so much fun.
Is your girlfriend? Is this her? Does she spend much time in the U.S.?
Well, yeah, she spent all year with me.
Other than that, though, has she been here before?
Yeah, just for the races that I did, and yeah, every time we went to Laguna Seca, we planned some things, and yeah, but that's it.
Does she work remote or something? I saw her in Coda. She was on the computer all day. Was she work?
No, she's physio, she's chiropractor, osteopath. So that's her job. But now she's changing job. We moved back from Switzerland to France, so she's opening her home place in the south of France. So she's just planning it because she opened when we go back in October, around the 10th. She just opened the new place, so she have to do all the website and stuff.
That's cool. And Switzerland. So how long did you live in Switzerland? Because that's a place I would love to go.
I don't know. I'm born half an hour from Switzerland, so I'm kind of in that place, and I lived there for almost 10 years, close to Geneva. So I was close to France, where I'm born. So it's a nice place, really nice place.
How do you get into riding living? I mean, I imagine Switzerland.
In the mountain, yeah. I should be a skier. I should not be
yeah.
I don't know. I always had bikes and snowmobile, quad at home. We had a place in the mountains with my parents. My sister godfather is Serge Rosset, who had a team in 500 GP. He was the Kawasaki factory in endurance. So I don't know. My dad always loved everything with engines, and since I'm 2 years old, I'm just going everywhere around with the quad, the snowmobile, and then I wanted to race. So I started to race motocross at 8, and then at 10 I wanted to go road racing, and that's the only thing I was living for since I'm 4. I didn't want to ski, I didn't want to do anything else than just riding. I was waking up in the morning like I want to go on the bike. I was stealing the key of the quad and I was taking the quad in the city. So yeah, that was my own life. I think I have like gasoline in the blood, and that's it.
Now, the motocross thing, is there a lot of tracks where you lived, or was it easier? Is it easier to road race? Like, what was more
No,
prominent?
in France, I would say it's easier if you want to be a motocross rider. We have a lot of track, a lot of riders, a lot of teams, where I live, not so much, but not so far. And then when I started to road race, there was nothing. Like I did 2 races in France, and at that time I was riding for the bike we bought was a Conti and then a Metra kit. And
Metric kit?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
So we met the owner of Metra kit, and he said, "Come to Spain. Like it's way better there." So they invited us. We went to Barcelona to make a race. And my second race in France, I was leading all race, and I finished P2 or P3. And the first race I did in Spain, I was last, and I've been lapped half race through. So the level was so high, and my first race. I think I was racing against Maverick, Mark. Think Paul Espargaro was there, like all this generation. And the level was so high. So then, yeah, my dad said, if you want to, what you want to do, you want to keep motocross or road race? And I said, I want to go to road race. Okay, so you have to you have to go in Spain. So the first year I was just traveling alone. I was 10, but I was taking the flight alone to Spain, and I had a mechanic there and going. And then my mom moved to Spain, and we lived there.
Wow. Was it like obviously motorcycling is a part of the culture, much more than the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Was your dad rode growing up?
Yeah. My dad was. I think if he had money when he was young, and my granddad would have supported him, he would have become a racer for sure. But he didn't have that opportunity, and so he was just riding on the road. And he had a big crash when he was 30, broke his back, was paralyzed for 2 years.
Wow.
So when I grew up, I was allowed to do everything, but he said, like, you race as much as you want, but I never want you to ride on the road. So I got my motorcycle driving license when I was 22, and I was already in MotoGP, because I had to do it for all the tests that we do sometime on the road and like pictures. But yeah, I was not allowed. Even at 15, we can have the scooter in France, and I was not allowed to have the scooter. Like he said, no way.
Wow. So your dad was paralyzed when when did he have you?
No, that was before I was born. Like
Okay.
he crashed on the road, and just big crash. He was lucky.
Yeah, sounds like it. That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
When like comparing the culture, obviously growing up in France and around bikes and coming to the U.S., like what do you notice about the culture around motorcycling? Is it much different? Like the fans or the people who ride?
Yeah, well, I would say that you have like the baggers and all the Harley thing. That's how you see motorcycle in the US, and that's what we think in Europe when we come here. Is like we just want to go to the Road 66, rent a Harley, and cross the US. But you don't think about racing, So same with the cars. We think about all those big V8 and big engines and muscle cars, but we don't think about you don't see that US like the racing. You see like the country where you are allowed to do everything and freedom and just ride the biggest engine you can and have fun. In Europe, yeah, the racing is much more in the culture. Like I think even in France, which we didn't have many riders, like we have only one world champion in the highest level, but we have a lot of races like the Boulder 24s of Le Mans, the GPs, I think the highest attendance of all the GP that we have of Europe. So racing is really in the culture of Italy, French, Spain, even England. Like I raced in England, and it's something different also there. But I think it's also maybe because the country is so big here. It's hard, like for the people to really follow one thing. Like it's at the end, like the GP, all the GP, MotoGP, for example, in Europe, the zone that they are racing, it's smaller than the US. So it's hard to follow when you're here, like follow really one thing. But I was surprised when I came in 21. I don't know if that was the COVID effect or something, but how many people were coming to the race. I remember Road America, Laguna Seca, it was like way more people than we have sometimes in World Superbike in Europe. So I was pretty surprised. I was like, it's strange that this championship is not like as famous as it should be with so many people following. But I think it's just it keep growing up with more. You need also riders and teams to identify to when you follow something. And I think now having more and more racers and more level in the championship, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Do you think that I always think it's interesting, like you watch World Superbike and you see there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Like it's mostly television, I guess. Is that kind of like how they keep doing it?
So World Superbike was for me the awesome until 2013, 14 was really something. Like I was in the paddock from 2008 to 2014 and it was really nice. But I think the best years were until 2008 or 9. Then Dorna bought the World Superbike. And I think they just made something that it's like normal for a business owner that didn't want like the Superbike to fight against the MotoGP. So they want really to make a difference between them. Until that moment, it was the Flamini brothers that were owning the championship and they wanted to like catch the MotoGP. And until that time, everything was done to make a big show in Superbike and the racing. I think in Manico in 2009 or 10, there was like 100,000 people around the track for World Superbike, 110. And now it's like 50, 60. So they really like made the GP more famous and the Superbike less. I think they want it. So it's a bit of a shame as a rider racer. I think there is really like enough space for both. But at the same time, it's normal when you have a business, you don't want like two business to fight against each other. And I think they need both because they need like, there is too many riders at the moment to place them everywhere. So they need both championship, but they want like to have a big gap between them.
And it's crazy because like the World Superbike arguably is like really good right now, and there's more great rides now than maybe there has been, right?
Yeah.
There's more diversity versus like when you were there in Kawasaki, they were dominating, or one manufacturer really dominating. I know Ducati is, but it seems like there's a lot more quality rides. Feels like.
Yeah, well, it depends the years, like I feel like it's what is really hard in Superbike is they always have that thing where the bike needs to be homologated, and then if the bike is not making result, then the brand is like, we need something because we don't have enough money to homologate a bike every year. So then they have this balance of performance, but you never know if it's like the rider dominating or is it the bike. So you don't know if last year was Alvaro way better than everyone or if it's the bike. And like this year, what is it? It's like Toprak dominating or the bike?
Yeah.
And I feel like this year it's easy to say that it's Toprak that is dominating, so they don't want to balance. So that's really hard to make the rules. And I think that's also something when you follow in a championship, you need to understand. Like if you watch MotoGP, you don't have to think about what bike they are on or what rules or is it in balance of performance. You just watch the show. Now in Superbike, you have this kind of thing that I don't like it so much. Like when you watch Formula One and you don't know what tire they have or if they are just saving the tires. You need to know the race and the rules to be able to follow. And but yeah, as you said, there is great races in Superbike at the moment. Like, and I really think there is really talented rider. The level is really, really high, and there always been in Superbike like the top 10, and then there was a big gap. And I feel like that's the most packed grid that they had in the last 10, 15 years.
I think that, yeah. And so when I don't really want to go too crazy into it already, but when you rode, have you saw like a difference in the World Superbike or the Superbike? Obviously, the rules have become a little bit more eased as far as they've been more restrictive. And versus when you got in on a World Superbike where it was pretty open, like where like they could kind of do anything when you started, and now everything's kind of getting clamped down. Have the bikes gotten like, I guess, less technical advanced?
Yeah, well, not really. But in 2012, when I arrived in Kawasaki, we were able to do like a gearbox every race. So ratio of the gearbox was every race for the track. Then 2013, we had to choose 3 gearbox at the beginning of the year. And then 14 was only 1 for the whole season, like it is now. And then also the things they were able to change in the engine was way more open in 2012. Then it just got less and less to like make it cheaper, I guess, and make the team spend less money. But I think what I've learned in all my career is that when you want to make this, you make the team that have money spend even more, because they will spend more money in a smaller area. I think it's easier to gain performance if you have a fullback and you can do whatever you want. You will go through the big parts and the engine and the thing. And then if you everything is restricted and you have to gain 2-3 tenths in the brake or something, you have to spend a lot. So I don't know. It's really hard to make a good rule for Superbike, and I know that they are thinking about like reducing the cost and they want to make Superbike more like Superstock. But that's also another thing. When you make Superstock, at the moment, if you make a Superstock series, everybody will buy Ducati or BMW, and then all the other brands will be like, no, we can't fight against them because nobody's if tomorrow Kawasaki or a brand like that produce a bike at 50,000 euro, nobody's gonna buy it. But everybody's going to buy BMW or Ducati at 50. Like they have the client to spend it. So it's really hard to make the rule. Everybody complain about the rules, and I always does as well. But it's super hard to make. Like I will not be I'd never want to be the guy that have to decide the rules, because you cannot. It's impossible to make everyone happy. You know, like I'm a tall guy. I was for the weight limit, but I know that if you're a small guy, it seems like it's really tough for them. So it's to find the balance. It's really hard.
No, it is for sure. You came into the World Championship. European Superstock was basically raced throughout Europe, but it was part of the World Championship, right? That was 2008.
Yeah.
What like prior to that, what were you doing racing wise? Like from you said you started like motocross and then you got into road racing around 10. Yeah. What championship was that? Was that CEV?
Yeah. Well, I did Catalan Championship, Madrid Championship, Andalusia in 50, 70, 80 cc. When I was 10, 11, 12. Then at 13, I went in CEV and Catalan Championship on a 125. And the level this year was crazy. Like those years in the CEV the bikes were full, like the GP was so expensive, like to ride and to buy the ride. You had to pay to be in the team, was so expensive. And the level was so high. Like the pole position in Valencia in 2006 Spanish Championship, the pole position of the CEV was faster than the GP 125, 1/10. I think Paul Espargaro got the pole in the CEV, was 1/10 quicker than I think it was Gadea in GP. And we were 80 riders or 85 to qualifying in qualifying, and only 40 between 40 and 44 spots in the race. And I was qualifying, like I was fighting to qualify. So that was already big. And then I know everyone in France, like the French champion and those guys, the French team were like, oh yeah, you suck, you're like 40. And then they came at the last race and they were 73 and 74. And I remember like I was going on track and I was already tall, but I had this mindset, like I grew up watching the GP and I wanted to do 125, 250 MotoGP. That was my dream, and I didn't want to hear about Superbike when I was young. And at the end of that year, my dad just bought a brand new Yamaha R6 to go ride on the road. And my trainer, that's the most important guy in my life, was an ex-GP rider and endurance rider, Adrien Morias. He was my coach since I was 10 or 11 my trainer. And he told my dad, he's like, we need to stop 125. He's never going to make it. He's too tall and it's too expensive. Like, I think 2006 cost 130,000 euro to my dad to pay for the team, and we had the team had like 2 bikes in GP, 2 bikes in Spanish Championship. So the pistons and all the engine was doing the best rider in GP, the second best. Then my teammate, who was Lorenzo Savadori, so he's the Aprilia test guy, and then me. So I was blowing up engine and the bike was slow. And together Aprilia, which was the best bike in the good team, was 260. For 6 races or 7 races. It was insane. So and my trainer was rare. It was like, he's really tall, he's growing up, you need to put him on an R6. And my dad was like, no, he's 13. I don't put my kid. Hey, come on. Come at the test next week, bring your bike and you just ride it. So I went to the test, I rode the R6 and I loved it. And I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. So the plan was to do the Catalan Championship the year after. But there'd been an accident in 2007 with pretty young guy, not 16, but like 18 or 19 years old. I think it was Jordi Torres' brother or cousin that died in Barcelona, and they moved the rules to 15. So I was kind of stuck. I was like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop racing now. And my trainer was like, yeah, you stop racing. You're not making any race this year. You're just gonna, we're just gonna test all Europe. So he told my dad, he made a plan to my dad, budget, like you take your bike, take off the fairing, the mirror. So my dad never rode his bike, put like race fairing on, and just in the van going to I was riding every 2 weeks, 2 days. So I did a lot of ride. But I was, 14, riding all through Europe. And that's the year my dad met Jean-Claude Olivier, that was president of Yamaha France and number 3 or 4 in Japan. And we get into a good relationship. And in 2008, we decided to do European Superstock. The age limit was 15. But nobody expected me to be fast. There was fast riders there. There was Danilo Petrucci. There was some fast guy, Lin Fu, Gino Rea. That's how I went there.
How did your parents like afford that? I mean, you said 130,000 euro. You did that for how many years? You did that for like 3 years?
Well, no, the CV 125, I did only one, but I don't know how much my dad spent, but I would say spent, I don't know, almost like more than $500,000 for me to be racing. And I don't know, at the beginning, he just like put his money, it just started like, it's like drug addiction. It started easy and slow, and then it goes bigger and bigger. And my dad is someone that my parents, my dad and my mom are they did everything for their kid, like my sister the same, and then for me. But yeah, my dad ended up selling the house, selling the company, and like everything into racing, buy the house in Spain, like for me to go racing, and then sold the company, opened another one, sold the cars, small van. My dad was sleeping in a van for some months for me to go racing, and it was really a point. The ending point was 2008. Ending point where I felt like we had to pay to race the Superstock, like 50 or 60. And I knew it was, I could feel like I knew like you don't want to know that when you are 15, but I could see my dad was like at the end of like spending money. And I won the first race. And that's when Jean-Claude Olivier said, okay, I pay, like you don't have to, I take charge of the what you have to pay to the team. And then, it was, if I didn't win in 2008, I would have stopped, I think, at the end of the year.
And so going back, like you're talking about that race when you're running 125s, like Paul Espargaro racing against all them GP guys you just rattled off. Like everybody was in there. Obviously, a lot of them went up the 125, 250 route. Were they all paying too, or were they like? Was it just known that even top 10 was paying? Like everybody pays in that championship?
Everybody pays more or less, but most of the good guys, like Marquez was the Monlau kid. So the Monlau it's a school in Spain for mechanic. So they were paying for Mark. But like the top guys they all started racing when they were 6. So if you go in Spain, it's like, I don't know, football or baseball here. They will take the top kids and like,
there's money.
Yeah, there is money for them. Like Paul was riding for the racks or the yellow bikes, if you remember. And so they didn't have to pay. I don't think they were making money at that time, but they were just like, they had the sponsor of the team paying for them. Scott Redding was in the Blue Sands.
Because Bradley was in there too.
Yeah, Bradley was there. But I think I went through the timesheet from Valencia a couple of months ago, and just to check how many riders were still racing. And I think from that year, we're still 20 racing at the moment.
Wow.
So that's,
the crop
Gino
is
Rea,
huge. Yeah.
Gino Rea. I've been through the cheat because I was watching British Superbike and I see a guy, Billy McConnell, riding last time, and I was like, oh, I raced with him in 125. I raced with one guy, and I was trying to see where he was. Yeah, there was so much. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
What do you think that had was that hard on your parents that time? You said your dad's like living in a van. Like what was that dynamic like for your family?
Well, yeah, it was hard, but I don't like I speak with my dad, and my dad is like my best friend, so that's pretty cool. It's not really cool when you grow up because it's hard to like keep sometimes you go over the limit because you think it's your friend and it's not your dad. But being my friend, I know that he don't regret anything at all, and we are still the best friend now. He just arrived here, so that's cool. He didn't come to any race of MotoAmerica yet, so he just landed this morning. But yeah, he's been working all his life for his kids, like my sister and me. And I think if I have a kid one day, I will do the same because that's what he told me. So I don't know. It was really hard for sure, but it was as you say now, it was worth it. But in that moment, there was maybe 90% chance that I would not make it, you know? Like, you don't know that. It's super hard. I don't know if I would be able to do this as much as he did, because, like, you don't know if your kid's going to make it or stop, or, like, not even talking getting injured, but, like, does he have the talent and level? It's not like I was winning in Spain. I was 40. There was, like, 39 guys faster than me, and then when I went out in 600, it was like, okay, we could see I was fast and enjoying the bike, and then I won race one. So in that moment, but that was already when you spend a lot. You know, like spending between 10 and 15, you don't know if your kid is going to want to continue after that.
How old is your sister?
My sister is 12 years older, and she was an helicopter pilot, so
Oh wow!
she was also,
I think it's
she
like
was
that-
also an expensive kid.
It's like,
sounds like
I think it's like that paradox of like staying long enough to make it and not staying too long where you're delusional,
Yeah.
right? Because your parents or like you like, I want my kid to have the best, right?
Yeah.
I think I know, but it can be blinded sometimes, as you say, and I think there's like that. There's, you know, if you didn't do that last year in 2008, you wouldn't have been here, right?
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like, when is that moment, you know? And I think we see that today. We see that with all these kids, right, coming through Twins, Junior Cups, you know, Super Sport, and it's like, well, maybe still. And every year, it's like that drug addiction. You're like, well, how far are you gonna really go? And
Yeah.
it's this podcast has really shown there's so many stories like that,
Yeah.
where you're like, on the last one, like after 2008 ain't gonna happen, and you win the Super Stock 600 champ. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
But I think my trainer was, he was a really good. I was one of the first guy to work with a trainer trackside, with the headset, talking to my mechanic in the box. That when I started racing, that was only the dad coaching the kids, and my dad was like, I don't know enough about racing to teach you. Like, if you play soccer, you have a trainer, so just I need to find someone. So we found that guy, and he became the most important, because he really, like, everything I know is thanks to him. And I know my parents were asking me, like, at the end of 2012, 2005 and 6, like, is it worth it? Like, should we continue? And he was like, yeah. Like, the important is how quick he will be at around 15, 16, not now. And, like, if we walk, like, he obviously I love that, he know that. And he said, like, he could see I was fast. And then they were like, he was like, yeah, it works. Like we should continue. Yeah, if you can, you should, like, just keep going, and it will work. And that, but they listened to him. Like, if he's the only guy that wanted to put a 13. I was 13 years old the first time I tried a 600, and he was like, there was nobody doing that. Like, if something would have happened, they would have told him he's a killer, you know, to put a 13 years old. But for me, it was not more dangerous than 125, because I was tall and strong, and I was not feeling in danger on the bike. So yeah, it was really the guy that make all my career.
and how tall were you then? Do you like,
Well,
roughly?
I don't know. Like, I know that I was 173 centimeters at the end of the 125.
Well, I think I'm 171
Yeah.
now,
So I was 13.
so that gives you an idea.
And I'm that side since I'm almost like the end of 15. That's why when I won Superstock 600, I didn't went to Supersport. We asked the Flamini brother to change the rules and allow me to ride 1000 at 16, because I was too tall for 600 already. I was that size. And then I stopped growing up, luckily.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
What were you doing for school at that time? Like, I don't even know how school really works in France. I know it's still public school, but was that what you were doing, or were you in like an
No.
academy?
Well, I went school from. I started. Like, you have school that start at 3. My mom never put me at school at 3. I was living in a mountain. My mom had a restaurant, and that's the happy place I had. And I had my quad and my stuff. So I only went at school at 6 to 10. And then at 10, you have to change and go. We call it college, so it's not the same as here, but you go to a bigger school. And we went there, and my mom was like, okay, he's an athlete, he's racing, that's his calendar, he's going to be out of school all these dates. And they were like, no way. Okay, so he's not coming. But you have to go to school until 14 in France. And she was like, he's not coming. But you have to. Like, no, we're going to find a way. So I did a homeschool, but I haven't done anything. Like, I was 11. My mom was doing for 2 years,
Doing all the work.
Yeah, all the homework and sending it. And at the end of my 12, she looked at me and she's like, listen, I went to school until 18. I know all that stuff. You want to continue? I'm like, no. Okay, so we stop. Like, I was already learning. I spoke already Spanish at that time. And that's the only thing that my dad asked me. Like he said, I want you to speak French, speak English, and then I want you to be good in math, and that's it.
So are you pretty good in math?
Not really. Like, yeah, like for my contract and how much I gain or lose, yeah. But
The profit
that's
and loss.
that's the only
that
thing.
matters.
My dad is a selling guy, so he's a business guy. So it's the only thing he told me how to sell and how to buy. But that's the only thing. But yeah, I've learned Spanish, English, Italian, French. So
Okay.
yeah.
Do they have like in the U.S. you get your high school diploma? Like everyone has to. Doesn't have to, but that's kind of like the end goal.
Yeah.
Or like your GED. If you don't graduate, you can go do testing. Is it the same in Europe? Is it like a standard like?
Yeah, like when you're 18 in France, I guess it's yeah. But what I found way better in US than Europe, and mainly France, what I love here is how much the sport. Like the sport is important at school. Like it's not bad to be good at sport. Like I was training when I went back home 2 months ago. I was training with a kid. He's 13 and he wants to be triathlete, but he's not at school already because when he was at school, he was so good at sport that they were asking him to go slower at the running because he was making the other kids look bad. And he was like, yeah, but they are making me look bad when I go in math and French because I'm not as good as them and I want to be. Like he's convinced that he wants to be a triathlete. His dad is a triathlete and he's like, you have those kids that, I don't know, like I knew at 8 I wanted to become a racer. And so that's what I love here. Like you can love sport and they will help you. Like you have school and you can get money and it's good at school. In France, not so much. Like sport is like the thing that you have to do an hour a week and that's it. So that's what I
Even
love.
like football, like they don't support it. Like
Yeah.
I mean, like England, like if you're a footballer, they're just like if you're good enough. Obviously.
Yeah, but not at school. Like I think you will play football outside of the school. It's always
Okay.
like it's not like university here where you have like the big university with like I don't know
Scholarships.
like a soccer.
Yeah, like we have
team.
D1 schools and whatnot.
Yeah, you have the soccer. Like I was talking and like, oh, you should go to see a game. And like, yeah, but it's not. It's the off season. And like, yeah, there's the university one. It's so nice. You need to see that. I'm like, oh yeah, you don't think of that because we don't have this like in France.
That's interesting. So like beyond that, do you think that obviously everything is much closer country-wise? Like I feel like the countries there are like states in the U.S.
Yeah.
But going from France to Spain, like. Was it hard like the culture or because you could the languages are somewhat similar, you can kind of understand and get by? Do you think it would be harder to come to the US versus going to Spain? Like was that jump difficult for you to move and have to kind of
Well, I was 10, so I think it's pretty easy when you are 10. And I was the only thing I wanted to do was riding bikes. So I guess even going like everywhere would have been cool for me. And I love to travel. I think that's something. It's in you or not, like whether you like Casey Stoner stopped at 27 because he was tired to travel. So, but I think I will never be tired to travel. I'll just love it. Even, I mean, the money I spend it to travel again in the winter to go holidays and see some new places. So, no, but the culture definitely. But I think like Spain was good. I went to England pretty young as well. I could come here no problem. So it's just I think some people are made to like discover new culture, a new country, and some people don't like it. I like it.
Is there like based on the countries, like is there a little bit of a animosity or what I'm looking for, the word, like you're French coming to Spain, or like all the Spanish people looking at you or the kids looking at you like, why is this guy here? Or is it like pretty inviting?
Oh yeah, sure, but the same is in 21 when I came here. They look at you and like, what is he doing here? Like we don't need a French guy in the US. You're taking one spot from the US guy that should be in the team. That's everywhere, I guess, and not only racing, but that's normal. And then you just show the people that you deserve to be here and you are not a bad guy. And then after 6 months, you have a lot of people coming like, oh, we enjoy having you, and it's so cool having you, and you make friends. So that's you have to show that like you deserve to be here, and you are like, you need to show that why you are taking the place of like someone else.
I think you need to show that you want to be here.
Yeah.
Like when I was in British Superbikes, it was the same sort of deal. Like when I first got there, everyone didn't really. They're like, why? You're just taking another spot, a good ride. And, when you start to get some fans and make friends and be like, nah, dude, I want to live here and do this. It's definitely different. Do you think that going back to your schooling, do you think it's hindered you at all, like at all, growing up without having that educational background, or do you think you learned enough racing and being around and technically managing your own business?
Yeah, I think there is like, even if I was not a racer, I would not have been made through school until 18. I love to learn things, but I've learned English, Italian, and Spanish without never learning it. But I speak all four. And then now I'm trying to learn Portuguese, but I know I cannot learn at school with a teacher. My brain is not made to be seated in a room and learning things from a teacher the way I want. When I learned Spanish, I wanted to talk. I didn't want to like know all the background of that. I want to know how it works, what I want to be able to have a discussion when I go somewhere. So I don't think I would have made it through 18 at school. And like my parents told me I was not going at school. It was okay for them, but they didn't want me to be a stupid guy. Like they kept like teaching me a lot of things. And I grew up in the business of my mom and the business of my dad with a lot of big, much older people. So you learn a lot of things. Like you learn the life. You don't learn the books. You learn the life. And I think that's a really good thing. I mean, some people have the brain, like my girlfriend, to learn at school, and some people have to learn the life. And I'm this kind of guy that have to learn the life. And I mean, you grow up really quick when you are in that world. And as I said, coming back at my parents, spending so much money, and you see all the sacrifice and all the effort that have to be made. They also have to ask you, and I remember talking to my mom and my dad, like, okay, that's fun, that's what you love, but if you don't want to be serious and you don't want to make it through, you keep riding back, that's okay, but we go on a Sunday and we'd spend like 10,000 a year, and that's okay, you have fun. But if you want to make it go through, you have to so you cannot be, you don't stay 12 years old when you have this kind of discussion with your parents, like you grow up 10 years, because you have to make decisions that most of the guys make at 20, and even maybe never, like spending 100,000. Well, I remember my dad beginning of the season, like when you're 12, but you know the price, you heard the price, and you're like, I don't want my dad to spend so much. Like, yeah, but if you want to make it, that's okay. Don't worry, but just do the job.
Yeah. I know like you've talked a lot this year about you and Josh. He's the brother you never had.
Yeah.
Did you find it difficult, not having gone to school? Did you have like a lot of friends? And obviously you moved a lot, right? You even at teenage years, you were going from country to country. Did you find it hard to make friends, or did you have a lot of friends at home?
I'm lucky. I don't have a lot of friends, and I'm not someone that wants to have a lot of friends. So I think I can count my real friends on one hand. So and I don't I know many people, and I've like a lot of people I like around the world because I met a lot of people. But like friends, I don't have a lot. Like I'm lucky because I met Jeremy, who was racing in endurance and French championship when I was 10 in my first track day in Spain, and we became slowly friends. We didn't match straight away, but we became really good friends, and we have the same career more or less, and we became really good friends. And then I still have two friends since I'm a kid at home. I have like 3-4 really good friends at home. And then going into the races, I don't know why I have this mentality that I was never going at the race to make friends. So that's why people sometimes think I'm not nice guy, because I'm just coming to the race and that's my job, and when I'm on track, if I end up meeting a guy and I like him and we become friends, like it's with Josh, that's cool, awesome. But I'm not coming to the race to make friends. I'm coming here to do my job and try to be the best, and being the best might be taking you out of track and trying to win. So that's it's something that people don't realize. It's super hard, and I think if you want to come here and making friends, it just take your focus out. But with Josh, I've been lucky.
Is that something that you gain racing against in that CEV championship and in Europe, and how tough it is to make it, or is that something that's in you growing up? Like, where did that come from? Because we've heard about it a lot, and when I went to Europe, it's definitely a European thing, to get cut up pretty quick.
Yeah.
It's not very American.
No.
It's different here.
Yeah. I don't know where it come from, because I remember my first year in Spain racing and then 10 minutes after racing, playing soccer in the paddock with Mark, Tito, all the people. We were all playing, so that was cool. I think it just come when growing up, I met a lot of people, and you also meet 80% of fake people. People that think that you like want to make you feel like you are a friend, you're nice, and then they put your knife in your back. So that's, I think, I realized that pretty young, and that's when I think my brain just switched into the mode of like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm here to do my job, I do my best, and just don't try to lose energy and focus being disappointed with some people. And just, I have enough friends and family, like, to be happy. And then, just, I think that's more in me than in the racing. But yeah, I see what you mean. I definitely see what you mean. It's also, yeah, for sure, it's way tougher to make it through when you're in Spain. Like, everyone's like, yeah, I wish I was Spanish. It would be so much easier to be in World Championship. I'm just saying no lie. It would be 10 times harder because the pyramid is huge at the beginning. There is 1,000 kids riding bikes every day, and I want to make it through Moto3, and so you have to be the best. So yeah, sure, there is a lot of fighting between them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it's probably about like here where you have baseball or football. It's like to get to the top there's so many people.
There's not many people that goes to the top.
Yeah, and it's crazy is you meet all these people like these jack dudes, and you're like, did you play ball? And they're like, yeah, college ball, didn't make it, got a knee or something. And you see, it's like it's such a thing in America to see so many people get washed out.
Yeah.
We
have the same in France where I live with a ski guy. Like where I am, it's a lot of ski. I have a lot of friends that go skiing racing, and it's super hard. Like in the French team in the World Cup, they're 5 guys. They're 5 spots. And I know a lot of guys are like, fighting against injury. And I got a knee. I have to start again French Cup, then European Cup, then trying to go. And my friend last year went to his first World Cup, score points. And the week after, I got his knee ACL. So now he's starting again, European Cup, trying to get to World Cup. So that's tough.
Yeah, that is crazy. I guess it's probably a bit like here, or just racing in general is kind of like you go all the way to the top, and you've experienced that, right? You made it to GP, and then you kind of have to work your way back, and then
exactly. An injury in the middle.
So moving towards you do your 2008, you win the Superstock Championship. What happened after that? Because you kind of have a little bit of a bouncy career until you get to your debut, World Superbike.
Well, in that moment, I really became a Yamaha rider with Jean-Claude Olivier being in there, and so we made a team with my trainer for me, Yamaha friends in Superstock 1000. But that when that first Yamaha Air1 with the crossplane came, and it was supposed to be a MotoGP on the road, and it was not. It was
heavy.
It was a really good superbike, but with the rules of Superstock, we were not able to do anything. Like we had, I don't know, we were missing 25 horsepower, and the bike was 15 kilo too heavy. And we could not change. Like the rule in Superstock was 12 kilo less than the road bike, or 13. So at the end, the Ducati was way better, every bike. So I was struggling a lot. And it was really hard mentally because the first 1000 I tried was the old one. I went to a track day in Spain, in Valencia, and in 15 laps, so I was still 15, I was 0.7 from the lap record. And my trainer was like, okay.
So your expectation was so high.
We're going to try to make it 2 years in a row, like trying to win the first year in Superstock. And the first race, I was like, I come back 3 months later with the brand new Air1, I was 3 seconds slower. I was slower than my 600. And like that year is going to be long. But then I was riding, and there was another Yamaha that was fast. Not winning, but fast. And that's when I started like fighting my dad and my trainer, because they were like, he's doing it. I was like, I can't. Like, it's just a piece of shit. I can't do that. Like, I was crashing. I crashed 24 times that year because I was just going behind him and trying to follow him. That was my mentality. Like, if he does it, I go behind, and and I was never coming back after the lap. Like, I was just coming back in the ambulance or the truck, and I'm like, it's not working. And I tried this bike 3 years later, and it was not Superstock. It was different swing arm, different engine, different pivot, different frame. I tried it 3 years later when I was in BSB. So I understood why. But like, I think that made me tougher, and that made me understand, because even when you have a bad bike and think, there is always things you can do better. You always blame, what do I blame? The bike may be not the best, but am I doing everything I can to be fast enough on this bike? And so that may be better. So I did 1 year there. Then the second year I did Superstock again, but I did a race in French Championship and I won. And the bike was like the Superstock with the sleek and a little bit less weight. And that's when I realized that bike could be fast, and I wanted to try a super bike. So then I tried. My dad started to call Jean-Claude Olivier every day, like, find a super bike for a race, find a super bike for a race. And that's when one day he called me, like, you have to take a flight, go to UK. Andrew Pitt broke his collarbone. You have one race in the superbike. And I arrive in Croft, do one-day testing. No, in Mallory Park. And then I go to Croft. And Croft, I do the best result of the team for the year. So, yeah, that was another step like that. And everybody in Europe are like, oh, don't go to BSB. It's going to be the end of your career. But I just followed my brain and my heart, and I just followed what I felt. And that's what I did all my career. Like going to BSB, everybody said it was wrong. And I went there and I walked. And I learned so much. I didn't finish the full year in 2011 because I had to pay. I had to find some budget to go there. And my sponsor went bankrupt in the middle of the year. And I had to come back in Europe. But that's when I found the Kawasaki deal. And I did Le Mans. I did a lot of things that were not in the normal way of the racer racing on in Europe. I went to BSB, I went to endurance at 18. Everyone like, you're not going to learn anything in endurance. You're just going to lose your speed. And I went there and I learned so much thing. And now all the young kids want to go in endurance because that's cool. First, you can make money. That's pretty good. That's the first time you make that. Endurance is the first time I had a check at the end of the race. You know, like team came, we finished third. Mandy came, like, that's your money. Oh, that's cool.
That is sweet. And so you do the BSB thing, fourth at Croft, I believe.
Yeah.
And then you do a couple other races. You get on, you fill in for, is it, what is it?
Yeah, Johan Lasco. So I came back in Superstock 2012 because Yamaha had no budget anymore. So Jean-Claude was pretty cool. He said, if you have something else, just find it. So I came back into the Superstock with Kawasaki, and I did 2 races, and Johan had a big crash in Imola, broke his back. And that was the first time, like, you know, it's not nice when you go replace a guy that's injured. Like, you always take the opportunity, but you also think behind. And I was like, okay, that's strange. But I remember having the call, I'm back home, and the Superbike team called me, like, can you come and test the bike in I don't know which track. Like, yeah, of course I can. So trying to figure out, all my leather were back in Assen. We had a race. So I found one, drive all night. I arrive at the track, and I come into the best bike, like factory Kawasaki. That bike in that years was like top. Was like a MotoGP. Parts all in the box, swing arms, frame, like, come there. And the team manager goes, okay, you no crash allowed. So that was the only thing you could not tell me because I was getting scared. Like, I'm a rider that grew up. One of my strong points was the risk I'm able to take. So that means crashing. And I'm crashing, but I understand the things why I crash, and then I improve. Like, not like Marquez, not as much. Maybe because I started getting injured a bit early, so then I stopped. But like the Marquez style, nobody ever told him stop crashing. My trainer never told me stop crashing. He's just like, keep going, keep going, keep going. You're learning things. And I see so many people, so many riders that are 12 or 13 and start crashing, and the team are like, stop crashing. And you lose something. So I arrived there and he goes, stop crashing. No, don't crash. You're not allowed to crash. Just enjoy. You're not going to get the ride. We already signed someone. So I test the bike all day, enjoy. Call me in the evening. You like the bike? Yeah. What do you think? It's the best. Like, I'm in factory bike. Okay, you want to race? And I goes like, goosebumps. And, yeah, of course I want to race. Okay, try to go faster tomorrow, and if you have to crash, choose a slow corner. Wow, hung off the phone.
What?
And I'm like,
Who is it?
Gim Roda, the team manager from Kawasaki, is still the team manager now. I'm like, wow. So I go all day to like trying to go faster, and you put some pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
And I knew at the lap, and I mean, it was not. I think he already decided at the end of day one, but he wanted to see what I was doing in day two with some pressure. And I go there, and I remember I'm on one lap really fast, and I put my rear wheel on the grass, and almost I sat, but I don't want to roll the throttle because I'm fast. I stay on the bike, do the lap time. I'm like, okay. And then he called me in the night, like, okay, what's your contract in Superstock? So we figure out, I do one more race in Superstock, and then I come in the team. And I signed a 3 years factory Kawasaki contract at 18 years old.
There.
Yeah.
Off that test.
Yeah, everybody thought it was 1 year, but I've signed 3 years.
Holy smokes. What did that feel like when that call came and obviously you said you have goosebumps, but like to sign a 3-year deal off essentially a test, right? Because you didn't win
No,
or have any podiums yet when you signed.
1 day testing, 2 days testing.
How does that is insane.
Yeah, like I don't know. I think my parents the one that was the most
Did you freak
shocked.
out?
Yeah, I was just like, I always believe a lot in myself, and I was more like that's what I need. That's the opportunity I needed, and if there is one thing I did in my career good and I've been good at, it's like grabbing an opportunity when the opportunity is there. So that test, I know that I did what I had to do, and then winning in Silverstone. I had a 3 years contract, but you know how the contract works. If I was bad in that first year, they would have broke it. I know that, and you know that when you're racing. So if I didn't do so good in the first year, but every time I had an opportunity, like going in that race in BSB, one race, best result of the team in the year. That gave me the ride the next year. Le Mans, podium in Le Mans in 24. So every time I had one opportunity that was really important to grab, I always grabbed it. And I think that's changed your life, because you just go like, instead of saying in Superstock with Kawasaki and I don't know what would have happened, that test changed my life. And I went to Superbike. And my goal always been, my dream was MotoGP. So I was like, okay, I'm one step closer to that. So, yeah.
It sounds like you were just like not scared to say yes.
Oh, no, I said yes to everything.
And I think that's a lot of, a lot of
Almost.
people, I think a lot of
Yeah.
people don't understand that, though, because there's a lot of people that think they have to go up a certain path and they
Yeah.
say no to a lot of opportunities because, like, ooh, that might be bad.
Yeah.
And I think as I gotten older, I'm like, there's 2 opportunities that I wish I said yes to.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't know. Like, there's no testing. There's this or that. There was a Moto 2 opportunity.
Yeah.
So
never know.
so to hear you say that is so cool to hear that you say that you said yes to a lot of things.
There
and
is
you
not
went-
one path to get there. Like, there's a lot of, you can get everywhere you want, like using different way. Like it's, and I don't know why I had this in myself. Like I knew that. Like I tell you, going to BSB was the first time. I was 17 and nobody wanted, like in Europe was no. Like the first thing was stopping 125 to go 600. All the kids in Spain, oh, he's done. And then I see them 5 years later and I'm in front of them. But I went through Superstock, that was the shitty category, nobody wanted to hear that. But when you check, many riders come from that category, so it's just like, yeah, I completely agree with you. You need to choose the opportunity, but also you have to be clever at one point sometimes to say no, because when you're young, you can only gain from that. When you're getting older, you can, like, I don't know, when you already have a certain level and people expect things from you, and then you take, because I love riding bikes, so I would say yes to everything, even riding, I don't know, whatever. Like, but if you ask me now if I want to race a bagger, yeah, I would like to try. Or I don't know, but I know that if I go there and then you underperform, they're like, oh, he's done. When you have a certain level and people expect, but when you are young and you're growing up, I just feel like that's a lot of information and a lot of experience that you are getting young, and you need to take it.
Now, those years leading up to that, were you like, did you know they were watching, or like as far as factory Kawasaki, or it just came out of the blue?
No, it came out like this because I did only 2 races with Kawasaki before that. So I was not like, I was in the factory, like I was the official Kawasaki team in Superstock, but was not linked with the Superbike at all. I didn't know any of the guys in the team. So no, not at all.
Did you have a manager at the time, or was it
No.
just Jean-Claude? Or Jean-Claude?
No, I had me and my dad. So unfortunately, I didn't have the manager that I have now. I wish I would have had that guy. That's it. If there is one thing I changed in my career, I want that guy 3 years earlier than what I had.
Do you think that your deal for your 3-year deal with Kawasaki was obviously it was good for at the time, but do you think was it good now what you know now?
Could have been better. If I had a manager, it would have been definitely better. But at that point, I didn't care about money at all.
Yeah.
Even now, like it's never the first thing I'm looking when I want to sign somewhere. So, and yeah, my career has not been based on money. If not, I would never change to go to MotoGP in 15. I would have stayed in Superbike. That was I had a contract to sign with Kawasaki for 2 more years, and yeah, that was a good one. So.
And you at that time you were teammate to Tom Sykes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it
Was not like Josh.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, I've got a quote here that you said. I'm a good person to those who are good to me. Do you remember saying that?
Oh yeah.
And that's when you didn't help Tom Sykes.
Well,
Or how did-
I did help him.
However that-
but not in the last race when I should have again. But what happened there is like, I show up in 2012 mid-season, one day testing on a bike, everything new, 18 years old. You're not scared, but you go on. I go on track at Donington with an FP1. The first thing I see is like the 4 or 5 stars behind the letter of Max Biaggi, and I'm like, okay. I know deep inside me that I belong there, but I'm like, oh, what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
So, but Thomas never in those years, never been helping me. I don't, you're not here to help your teammate, but I mean, when you have a kid coming, like when I have a young teammate, you just come behind me. The only guy that did that was Biaggi. And it was Aprilia that was the opponent of Tom. And it was just taking me behind him every FP1 to go behind him three laps. And then it went worse and worse with Tom. 2012, obviously, I win a race, but I was way slower than him. Then 13, I built up all the season, and I started to be really fast in the mid-year, but I broke my back in the moment where I was getting as quick as him. And then I come back in the winter, so I didn't do the end of the season. I come back in the winter, and he's world champion that year. And yeah, I started to hear something. Like he went in Japan and asked a wall in the box. He has to not share the data. He wants to see my data, but I cannot see his data. And then, yeah, sometime I was going in 13 behind him in Superpole, and if I was coming in the pit with the qualifying tire, so I don't have his wheel, punching his tongue, I was like, okay, that's weird, guy. And then when I broke my vertebra, he didn't, never called me, never asked how I was. I was in the hospital with a neck brace. And at the first time they told me I had 4 broken vertebrae, so I was a bit scared, and then I only one. But so yeah, it was not the guy I was close to. I was young, and then at the end of 14, I was fighting for the title until mid-season, and some things happened. And yeah, it was only him in Manico. They asked me to let him go if I was in a position, so I let him go through for P4. Don't even thanks me, don't do anything. And then yeah, I don't know, I definitely, the main thing is the team manager didn't do it in the right way in the last race. But that's something like that for sure I would do different if I'm a team manager. First, the money-wise, but also talking, just sitting around the table on Thursday, okay, that's the plan. And they just came 5 minutes before the race, had the helmet sound, almost helmet sound on the box, what are you going to do? And I was P2 on the ground. I'm going to win the race. Okay, if you cannot win, I'm we will see. I win the race. You don't want to hear that you're not going to win before the race. On Thursday, you are able to. Your brain is able to go through everything. And I don't know. I didn't feel like going. Then also Johnny was behind. I didn't want to lose that podium. I know it was my last weekend in Superbike before going GP, and there was a lot of things for your head at 300k, and just didn't feel like doing it. And it was race 1, and I knew by the points that I could still help him in race 2, but then all the drama happened. Yeah, it's I don't know. Now being 30, 31, if I have to do it now with experience, yeah, I will do the things different. But again, back being 20, no manager at that time. Yeah, just when I signed with my manager in that moment, that's what I also say. I wish I would have him 3 years earlier. Yeah, all the things. I think if I'm 21 again now, I am who I am now because I had this character and this mindset since I'm 10. So I think if I would have acted different in that moment, would have mean I was a different guy, and I'm sure that different guy would not make it through. So
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment. When you said 300K, what was that?
Oh, the kilometers per hour.
Oh,
when
okay.
you're on the straight,
Okay.
and you just see your board and
Yeah.
you see that you have to let your teammate. We don't have radio like Formula One when it's easier. And again, in Formula One, everything is planned on Thursday.
Yeah.
Everything.
Was there any money for you to help him?
No, just compensate what I would have lost. For me, the best was to beat Gintoli, and I was pretty close to. But at the end of the race, I had no front tire, so I had to give up a little bit. And yeah, that's it.
Now, at that time, when you got the factory contract, right? Prior to that, you said you really weren't making any money.
Yeah, no.
And so at that point, but you weren't paying anymore, so your parents were kind of out of that. So when you got the factory Kawasaki contract, was that was it lucrative? Was there actually a lot of money to be made, or was
No, not the first year, not even the second. Like the good thing in Kawasaki was the bonus. Like I didn't have a really good base. I had a base to leave, which was cool, but the bonus was good. Like the race win in Kawasaki was 30, but I didn't have 30. I had a different ranking. They did a good thing. Like Gim was really nice during the contract because my first year he knew I could not be on the podium. Well, I wish he would because that's when I won. But instead of having a bonus for 1, 2, 3, I had a bonus until 8. And the year 2 I had bonus until 5. And the year 3 I had bonus until 3. So it was like really a 3 years plan contract in advance. And yeah, it was cool.
Now, when you're looking at that, obviously, like, you know, at that time you were how old when you signed the contract? 18?
Yeah.
Were you said you never really thought about money, but obviously you have to think about surviving.
Yeah.
Right? Did you when you signed that factory contract, did you feel like you didn't have to really worry anymore in terms of, you know, looking at a plan B?
Yeah. Well, I never really thought about a plan B. I honestly, that seems like dangerous and you want to suicide when people are like, what are you going to do if it doesn't work? And you're like, it's going to work. And people are like, that kid want to kill himself. That's it. You know, like they're almost like you always have the plan B. But like plan B mean you think about failing plan A. And my dream was MotoGP and I wanted to be MotoGP. There was nothing like that was in the middle of me and my dream until, and then I was like, so I really believed that. But yeah, when I signed that, I was like, okay, that's cool. I was really happy that I could, like, you know, pay back, like, just was mainly my parents, you know, like we have really close relationship with like, and we do everything together. We have a home together. We have a restaurant together. I wanted, you know, I don't want to. I'm not the guy to make money and keep it. Like I want to make money and make my family happy. And so I was just happy for that. Like being 18, and it was also like showing my parents, you see, it's worth it. Like you did the right choice. Now finally I'm making money. That means you did the right choice because if I was never ever making money, that would have mean my parents failed in the way they were believing in me. So that was more like, okay, you see, you did the right thing believing in me.
Yeah.
And at what point do you go, hey, do you start to go, all right, enough is for me and this is for us? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's obviously going to be, you have to live, and then you said you helped with a family restaurant and stuff?
Well, I have a kind of a strange family. So, I don't know. Like, the way I see the money, the way I see things is like, it's almost like a family business, and I'm like, okay, I don't care.
It's ours, not mine.
That's ours.
Is
like,
that
but my dad is like that, and he's still like that at the moment.
Is it like a culture thing?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, not
just
at
you
all.
guys.
Yeah, it's really me, my dad, my mom. We are like that, and it's just that we grew up. My parents were pretty old when pretty old. They were 40 when they got me, and I always live with them. I was never staying at my friends' or thing. I was always with my parents, and I grew up with my mom at the restaurant, then at the races, and I don't know. That's a way of doing the things that we have, and also because I know, like all the things that my parents gave up for me to achieve my dream, like my mom's restaurant, a lot of things, you know, like. We have another place in the mountain that we want to rebuild. That's all the things that they bought in the 90s and they put on site for me. And that's the place that I love. It's not like I'm helping them in something that I don't want. That's places that I really love and I want. Like like the mountain place where I live when I'm back in Europe. It's lost in the middle of a mountain. You can only get there with a ATV or something like that. But I live there. I'm happy. And I'm like, that's the place that I wanted always to rebuild. But until I was racing, it was not only a question of money, but it was a question of time because my dad was bringing me to the races and I had no time. So that's just cool when you can help your family back again.
Now in Europe, you always hear about like your leathers and your helmet and like there's other ways to have an income, you know, as far as sponsorship. When you get that factory deal, do you have like a helmet deal? Do you have leathers? Like in the US, you don't really hear that. You don't really get paid for leathers or helmets or whatever, you know.
Yeah, even in Europe, it's pretty hard now. I know many guys that are racing in World Endurance and can't even get free boots, you know, and they are doing like podiums in World Endurance. So yeah, I'm like, I'm pretty shocked sometimes. But yeah, so what happened when I signed with Kawasaki is the main sponsor of Kawasaki was Motocard, and they are the biggest dealership. And the team boss, I don't know if he wanted me because he thought that was the best for me, or if it was really for the sponsor. But he said you have to stop using the leather you're using. The deal with an Italian brand called Rewin. I had to stop with them, and I went to Alpine Star, which was the best thing I ever done. And I'm still with them like now. And then I was already with Shark, and I stayed with Shark. And then of course you have to change your contract, and you get a bit of money. But again, if I would have worked with my manager that year, when all those things happen, I would have made more money and have better deal. Because when you go from not like paying to not making anything to having something, then it's hard. Like you don't know the market, and you don't know.
You take whatever you can get almost.
Yeah, and you don't know how much you can push. Like it's a business, and then you learn that through your career. But like people want to pay you less, you want more, and then you have to find the balance. And I love selling things, but I hate selling myself.
Right.
That's something I don't like. I hate going in a truck with a team manager, fighting with him to have more money or better thing, and then in the box like being with him and like nothing happened, and you have to walk him. That's something I always hated. So that's why. But also at the same point, it was really hard finding a manager. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't want to work with anyone apart from two guys, Carlo Perna, and I asked him, and he was like, no,
he's my favorite.
Yeah, I asked him when I was we called him with my dad when I was 18, and he was like, no, I have too many guys, sorry. And then it was Eric May, who was the manager from Randy, French guy, the only French guy that I trusted. But most of the guy was asking money before they work for you. So,
right.
But Eric was not a manager. Was like helping his kid almost with Randy, and he only work with Randy and Jules, and we only get in contact and in touch a bit later. So when I wanted to go MotoGP, I knew that I could not make it without manager. And at 14, we started to talk with Eric.
Now, at that point, did you feel like it was harder not, like, with just having your parents, right? Like, they hadn't really been in racing per se. So, I mean, how did you learn how to work through that stuff? Like, when you sat down with Factory Kawasaki, were your parents in the room with you? You're 18, obviously, so it's like...
Yeah, it was my dad and a friend of my dad who's a lawyer. But honestly, the contract, what I could see with the contract of Kawasaki, it was pretty easy and nice. It was nothing like, it was not a 30-page contract. It was pretty, it was, you could see that it was, honestly, I would have signed anything to ride that bike.
Well, that's what I feel like is such a hard thing, especially when you're, exactly like you said, you're at a stage where you're going from paying to not paying, and now you're finally where it feels like somebody maybe is going to give you something. It's like, how do you feel anything but happy just to take something?
Yeah. But I think my manager, what would have happened if I had a manager, and looking it back, is like the first year would have been the same, but winning race in the first year, I would have had better season 2 and season 3. Like that would have changed again. But it was already better. Like my contract was, I don't remember how much was it, but like I had an amount for 12, an amount bigger for 13, and bigger for 14, and it was already based on my ranking the year before. So that was they were nice. They came with a really nice contract, Kawasaki. But I'm sure that a manager would have fight for me to have something more. I don't know how much. Right. But anyway, also, it would not have made anything magic. I mean, a factory team giving an opportunity to an 18-year-old kid that haven't done anything, that's, even the manager, he can't ask. Yeah. He can't ask the moon. He would have go like, maybe this a little bit more, like, I don't know, small details, but they wouldn't have changed the world. Like, a manager doesn't change the world, it just makes your life easier, and I think I would have had a relationship with the team, and it was some really good years, but I didn't enjoy the inside, even if I had really good friends with the mechanic and the crew. There was something inside me, and I think that was a relationship with Tom that was really like making me anxious going to the race. I was not eating in the hospitality most of the time, and so I think a manager would have made this whole thing
like a wall kind of.
Yeah, even just telling me like, you don't care, like just.
And dude, they had a bitch in hospitality. And, I mean, that's crazy. Were you flying like business and stuff like? So okay,
no.
Okay. So
Kawasaki, no. I mean, I was doing my own flight. Yeah, no, there is not many teams that pays business anymore. riders can fly business if they want to pay for it.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, well, I think we're going to pivot here into our Law Tigers tech tip. Law Tigers, they are America's motorcycles lawyers. If you or you know somebody that's in a motorcycle accident, please call 1-800 Law Tigers. You'll never ride alone with Law Tigers. And so in this segment, we do a Law Tigers tech tip. You, somebody who's rode everything, what would you give somebody, even maybe your size? What would you do for either a technical tip or a technique tip?
I think I'm gonna just go through my size, because that's, I think you agree, something really special. And like, we have a lot of people when we go to track days that are so happy getting a coach that is as tall as them or taller, because they're like, oh, everybody say we are too tall to race bikes. And yeah, always been taller than everyone. And people comes to me like, would you rather be shorter? And I say, I don't know, I've never been short. So I've always been like way taller than everyone. But I never changed anything on a bike to be able to ride it. So yeah, I had to go through 600 instead of 125. But then I never changed anything on my bike in order to be able to ride. I just play with my footrest, my seat a little bit, my handlebars, but I never been cutting, fairing, or things to fit on the bike. The only year I did that was in 2016 with Avincia. We go through the first test, and just to be more aero on the straight, we try something with the seat, longer seat, and I go, yeah, that's cool. And the bike goes fast, and I do all the winter tests super fast, P5 in Phillip Island. And then after 3 races, they take off one tire that I like, and then the bike become unrideable. And we try to find the setup all year long. I broke I had a lot of injury through it, and we never find, I had a lot of chatter. And the only thing we found out at the last race of the season was my seat. We changed the weight balance on the bike. It was okay with the tires that we had in the winter test, but it was not working with the rest of the tire, and we never found it. So that's why, since that, I'm like, I don't want to change the weight balance on the bike. And the only thing that made my life so much easier, being tall and not having to change anything, and even when I look the picture, I look pretty small on the bike, it's the stretching.
Stretching.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing is...
My nickname was the wood stick when I was younger. Like, I was not able to touch the ground, and I was like, even to 2014, like, a wood stick. You have to stretch. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. You know, when you are young, like, why you want me to stretch? I'm winning races and I'm fighting. I don't need to do that. And then I go in MotoGP, and I was crying from back pain and pain after the races. Like, they had one race, I think, Saxering that to take me off the bike. I was in so much pain because the bikes are super low. And my physio said, you have to start stretching. And I had a 3 weeks or 4 weeks break, and I started stretching every day, twice a day. And I'd be like, that life changer, game changer on the bike, way easier, not tired at the end of the race, and just feeding on the bike, and like really, really nice.
Hot yoga?
Any specific?
Well, I didn't do anything specific. I was just, my physio gave me some stretching to do, like for the psoas and the back, the hips, because that's what are really tight on a bike. It's not only the back, but like, yeah, the hip, knee, and psoas. That place is so painful. But then I started stretching at home, and then you go to YouTube and just go through some, if you have pain someplace. And now having my girlfriend, which is a chiropractor.
It all makes sense.
Yeah,
now.
that's so cool. Yeah. I mean, now this year with Josh, was like, we've been lucky having her in the box. So yeah, that's biggest advice I give on a track there to tall guys is stretch.
Cool.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. That's our Law Tigers tech tip. Thanks again. If you ever have any issues, call 1-800 Tigers. But yeah, so getting back into it a bit, that time with Kawasaki, you said obviously you knew at a certain point you were looking to go to GP. That was always your end goal. At what point did you make that decision? Obviously, it's really hard to give up essentially a factory ride. That they wanted you back. You said they wanted another 2 years. When did you decide that your lifelong dream was more important than kind of some stability?
Well, I was through 2014. I was fighting for top 3 of the championship most of the season, and starting to talk with my manager in the season to work with him. And he was like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I want to go MotoGP." But the goal for me was to do 1 more year in Superbike, try to get the title, and then go MotoGP, because Bridgestone was stopping and Michelin was coming. So I was like, okay, that's cool to come when something changed. But Kawasaki had a new bike coming 2 years later, and they wanted to develop that bike through 15. So it was not possible. The only thing Kawasaki was agreeing was 2 years. So we start to look in GP. That was that open bikes, like with the open, the same software with everything. The bike that Nicky was riding, Aleix on the forward.
This it was, but it was past CRT, right?
Yeah, it was after the CRT, and the bike were like the bike I ended up riding was a Yamaha bike from 2012 or 13 with the Dorna ECU. So that was really good bike, really nice bike. But the first time I received an offer, we start to talk with Aspa, where Nicky was riding, and I signed with them. So I tell Kawasaki, okay, I'm leaving. I've just signed my contract, my MotoGP contract. Kawasaki signed Johnny. And 10 days later, I opened the computer, Misano GP. Aspa break Loris Bass contract because he's too tall. Yeah. And
What?
I called my manager. I said, yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure out. I'll call you back. And yeah, they broke the contract. I have the contract home.
How do you do that?
They don't know. They just realized at one point that I don't know who freaked them out, like a guy from Honda or someone, just like, he's not going to make it. He's too tall to ride our bike. And then, my manager was in Misano trying to find other teams, so he goes to talk with Forward. And I signed the contract with Aspa by mail because I was on a race. I was overseas. And the first time I go in the MotoGP paddock, after all that story, they knew me, like I was going to the GP races. But the first time I go to Aragon to meet the Forward guys, I was on the phone with my manager and was like, choose your lowest shoes. So I was trying to find the shoes that had the smallest sole in my house. And he was like, try to walk a little bit.
And shows up in flip-flops.
When I was in Kawasaki, like the best thing that Kawasaki had for the riders that I never found, but unfortunately I felt like, I thought that was normal when the first experience you have, you go to factory. So you think that's the base for World Superbike and you think everyone is doing that. We had a doctor, we had a hospital, we were working with the FC Barcelona medical staff, doing blood tests every month, and I had a scanner from all my bones. So I thought, when I was 18, I was like, oh, that's a pain in the ass to do that. I don't want to go Barcelona every month. But then I end up, now I'm like, oh, I never had this again in my life. That was the best. They were taking care of a lot of the riders. But that made me add the body scan of my bones. So I had the size of all my bones. So I came there in Aragon, just like, okay, I'm 192, which is 6.3, but I have a long neck. So that means I'm like almost 2 centimeters shorter because my waist is a bit shorter. So, like just going through all those things. And when I walk in the paddock in Aragon, the team manager from Forward look at me, he's like, you're not that tall. I'm like, yeah, well, I'm 6'3", but I'm not, I'm not an NBA player. Like, he said, yeah, but all that drama that Aspa made online with, I don't know, everybody think I was a giant, So, but that was not the worst, but it was really 3 weeks really tough because I could not sign with Kawasaki anymore. They had signed Johnny when I told them I signed Aspa, and there was nothing else. Like if I could not find anything in MotoGP, I was done. Like there was just a really bad bike in Superbike left. It would have been really bad.
Wow.
And that's when you signed with Avintia?
No, I signed with Forward.
Oh,
so
yeah,
the Yamaha one.
Yep.
So yeah, that was cool.
Did you? I mean, you signed a contract. So is there like legal? Did you take like legal action, or like what do you do? You hear about that all the time, like how in GP they just like tear up a contract, and it's like
I could have gone and fight and things, but at the end you have like it was not a crazy amount of money. It was like 100 something. That's what you spend in lawyer to go and fight against Aspa, and
yeah.
you never sure you're gonna gain. And in that moment, like the main goal was trying to find something else in MotoGP. And as soon as if I didn't find anything, I would have. But because I found something, no, I just gave up on that.
And were you surprised at 100 something MotoGP? Like, is it like what would be like the biggest misconception people think about MotoGP?
Well, the thing is like every sport, you hear the top number, like you hear Marc Marquez, 15 millions. Yeah, okay, but like top 10, in that time, now top 10 make good money. But like was guy paying in MotoGP to ride, so there was like there's only 20 guys, and then there is the first guy that gained 15 million, and then the last guy that may pay, so like Formula One, and sometimes the middle guy is not making a lot of money. So I think that's one of the biggest thing. Like people think we're all crazy rich, fly business, and when sometimes I meet people in the plane and they're like, "You're not flying business?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not flying business."
Yeah, I saw a picture today. It It was Ricardo and his teammate.
Tsunoda?
Yuki.
Yeah, Sonoda. They're on the plane and Danny's in first class, in the lay flat.
Yeah.
And you see a picture of him in the back, and he's like in economy.
Oh yeah.
And Danny's the same team, but Danny's making 22 million a year or something, and Sonoda's making like
yeah.
probably $1 million or something if he's lucky. It's there's such levels to it, but I think fans and normal people don't realize, because you just think you get the GP, because for most people, like, MotoGP is like getting to the NFL, but if you're the worst guy in the NFL, you're still making 750,000 just for signing.
Not in GP.
Yeah,
And
not a GP.
was it a pay cut to go to GP?
What do you mean?
Like, did you have to take a pay cut from your third year in Kawasaki factory?
No. It was no, my contract with Kawasaki was really like ending up in that moment. Oh, you mean like if I had to drop? Yeah.
You took less to go to
Yeah,
MotoGP.
I took less, and I took way less than I would have taken if I was signing that Kawasaki deal. Like that Kawasaki deal for 2 years was good, and also the race bonus. You're not gonna like in MotoGP I was at a bonus per point I was scoring, so it's not the same. Like you gain like €1,000, €1,500 for every point you score, something like that. In Superbike it's 30,000 when you win and you're on the podium every week, so not the same. But and again. My dream since I was 5-6 years old was MotoGP. I was waking up every race, like overseas race. My dad was waking me up at 3 years. I was watching Capirossi, and I was a big fan. I'm called Loris for Loris Capirossi. So my dream was MotoGP. And my big dream when I was growing up was 125 like Capirossi. I was a big fan of Loris, and I wanted to do the same as him. I don't know why, but I was like that. And
Why Loris?
I don't know. I'm born in 93, so my mom was pregnant in 92, and Capirossi was world champion 125, and I think my dad liked that guy, and they also liked the name, obviously, I think. But when my mom said, "Oh, it's a boy," my dad was like, "Okay, it's Loris." And so I grew up like that, and I don't know. I love the way he was riding, and that small guy, which is funny, was the smallest one, but the way he was riding that bike and fighting against it, I really love that.
Do you think? Looking back now, that would you have done the same thing, taken the GP opportunity?
Yeah.
Yeah, still.
Yeah, that's the 3 best years of my life. But if I have a kid, I'm not sure I will
Tell them to do the
tell
same.
them to do the same.
That's interesting.
But if I have the same choice to make tomorrow, I do the same. 100%.
Don't you think that's funny though? Like, you would tell yourself to make the same decision, but if it was
because it's really, but because I want, the only thing I wanted to achieve my dream. My dream was MotoGP world champion. That's it. It was not riding MotoGP. I wanted to win in MotoGP. That was my dream. And then you never know. I would have stayed in Superbike, maybe win, maybe don't have the other opportunity. The only thing that I think I was crazy about is like I really thought that I needed to go in MotoGP really young. And I was convinced that if I signed 2 years more in Kawasaki, I was not going to have another opportunity, which I think was wrong. If I was staying 2 years winning, I would have had another opportunity. But you never know what happened. You don't change the past. And that's my mentality. I always look forward. But what if I never have this opportunity again? You think every car rider, every car racer, they will sign the first Formula One contract you give them. Anywhere, the worst team, even whatever. In motorcycle, no, because World Superbike is kind of famous. But still, MotoGP is the Formula One. So for me, it was like, I want to race there. But if I have a kid, then I will think more after like what he has in his bank account when he retire. But for me, no. For me, I wanted to see until where I was able to go. And if I was signing, I think I would have regret a lot if I was staying there in Kawasaki and then never got another opportunity for GP again. I would have been really sad that even if I was 2 times world champion, I would have been like, oh, why I didn't take it.
You missed it.
Yeah.
So you were 20? 21?
I don't remember the date. No, I was 22 in MotoGP.
22. Now, at that point, did you still believe that you could be world champion? Like, fully?
Yeah. And all the time I was there, yeah.
And even knowing that the bike you were...
Yeah, well, I was just hoping that Aleix was doing really strong on that bike. And because he was doing so good, they changed the tires. We had a special tire on that bike, softer one. So they changed it for the year I arrived. But I was convinced, like, okay, I can have this bike and then I can have a better bike. So, yeah, I wanted, like, to just improve. So yeah, I really believe it. Like I was convinced that I could do it, and I was doing everything I can in that point to just. I was also loving having the people that felt like I could not have be there because I was too tall. Like, okay, you're wrong. I'm still able. Like I won in Superbike. You thought I was too tall. Now I'm there. I'm here riding GP and I'm doing fast. Yeah, that's something I like.
You say it was your best 3 years. Why?
Because it's like I don't know, soccer player winning the doing the World Cup, or I don't know, an NFL guy winning, or NBA winning the NBA. I don't know. That's the top of the game is the MotoGP. The best bikes is the MotoGP bikes. Even if they are 2 years, or I was riding 2 years older bike, they were way better than everything else in the world. So that was the top of almost the top. The next step would have been a factory bikes or like a year A bike. But the best bike I rode in my life was the MotoGP bikes, and it was walking. And I could see, like I did some good result. I'm really proud of what I did. I wish I had one more year at the end of that 17, like it was supposed to go. I was able to sign. But I did some good things. Like, you have the time sheet, but you also have the data sometimes. And you go through the data and you compare yourself to Casey Stoner in Red Bull Ring, Janone and Dovi in Austin, and you go like through the lap time and you say, oh, I don't lose anything all there. The only thing I lose is in the straight line, and you're like, oh, yeah, that's not too bad. So yeah, it doesn't give you anything at the end, but you're like,
you know inside.
Yeah, you know inside what you're doing. So I was, that's definitely the free. When I retire, I will keep my wins in Superbike and those here, but the 3 years in MotoGP, I think when the day I have a son, I'm gonna show him the picture I had in MotoGP, not the one in Superbike, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Now, those years. Did you see a big difference going from World Superbike to MotoGP in terms of, like, obviously everyone knows how big the fans are and that kind of thing. Obviously, French people being so passionate, was there a big difference? Like, all of a sudden, did you feel like a lot more pressure getting into GP, or did you never even feel any of that?
Not pressure, but I felt much more people following me and supporting me, and yeah, it was nice. It was really nice going into GP. I was the only French guy also in that time, so that was cool. Going to the French GP. Yeah, again, goosebumps on the grid line with all the people. And my first French GP, riding the white, blue, and red bike, because Forward was making such a nice bike for the home run of the guy. So yeah, that was really nice, and it was also good races. And yeah, I felt there is obviously a big difference in everything. Like also I think I started training physically really when I went in MotoGP. Before that, I was just riding the bikes, and I was able to ride the bike without training a lot. Yeah, I was training, but not a lot. In GP, like game changer, bikes are so hard. It's killing you.
When you say not really change, like, what do you mean? Like you were like, stretching, obviously, but
I was not.
That's it,
No, I was not stretching until GP.
Oh, until GP.
Yeah, I was not doing anything. I was not like a Josh Herring, like doing really nothing. I was training a little bit because the Kawasaki guy was pushing me, and I had to send him an Excel file of what I was doing. And I had a trainer. My dad always asked me to walk, so I was training. But when I went in MotoGP, I realized that like all my life, my trainer was like, "You can't race," because when I was 12, I was like, "I don't need to train. Look, I'm finishing the race. I'm not tired." Yeah, but you'll see when you're on a 600. And I was on a 600. And I was like, "I'm not tired. I can do 100 laps a day." You'll see when you're on 1,000. And I was on 1,000. I'm not tired. You'll see.
Yeah.
And then I arrived in GP and I saw. Like I did 5 laps in Valencia the first time. And I'm like, what is it? Like
what is so much different? Like the brake force?
Yeah, the brakes. And then the bike is so stiff and so low that you're being tall. I think it makes it way harder than a short guy. So bad on the back. But yeah, the brake. Like my arms could not stay straight in the end line of Valencia. Until I found the moment where I was really able, it's almost going back to school when we teach a one-to-one on the guy and you have to lock your knee in the braking area to be able to not slide in front of your seat. It was the same. Like I broke the carbon brake. It was like the power. Like I end up like that on the brake. I was like, oh, that's crazy. The power, was nice. The gearbox, electronic was not much better than the Superbike because my first bike was the CRT, like the open bike. So the electronic was always almost worse than the Superbike had.
Wow. Do you think a lot of people don't realize like how much more work it is being tall just to go in a straight line,
Yeah.
right? Like getting in a tuck is work. I would imagine. Did you have, did you guys do wind tunnel testing in GP and stuff? Like, did you have to?
No, I did in Superbike, but not in GP because I was in a private team. And
Was there a lot of pressure from the team because of your size? Were they like, telling you to do certain things? Or?
No. I always been pretty lucky with that. I always had a team that, they signed me, so they believe in me. Like Kawasaki was so good, and Kawasaki made me realize that being tall is not a problem. So that was cool because I went to the wind tunnel, and I remember that Japanese guy said, "Oh, you are more aero than Tom." So I was like, "Oh, yeah, not too bad." But I was still losing like 8-10K in the straight, and I was like, "Oh, that's strange." But I went in a wind tunnel, and I learned so many things. Like I was opening my foot to put my elbow in front of my knee, and that was way worse than keeping my elbow out, but my foot inside. The foot makes so much difference on the foot pegs, how you feel. So they just changed my the support of my exhaust, and then I was able to fit my foot more in the back. And then at the end, I was only losing 2K on the straight to Tom, 2-3 to Barbera, who's smaller than Josh. So it's never been. I would not say it's an advantage. I think if we had no electronic on the bikes and no aero, we could find an advantage of being tall. With how the bikes are getting now, it's getting harder and harder to find an advantage of being tall because the bikes are too perfect. And what you can do being tall is like fight against the wheelie, fight against the bike that's moving a lot. But now they are not moving a lot because we have so much assistance. So I think that, but I never seen that. Maybe when I retire, I will see it a different way. But even now, I don't see like a disadvantage of being tall in a superbike. Yeah, if you put me even on a 600 for you, I'm like, oh, what is he doing? How is he doing so good being so tall on that bike? Yeah. Because I know like the power you have, but on a superbike with like 260 horsepower, it's not like you're not using all the powers.
The Advintia bikes, those Ducatis, right?
Yeah,
right.
That was good.
Those were GP bikes.
Real MotoGP.
Okay.
2 years. So in 16 I had the 2014 bikes, and in 17 I had the 2015 bikes.
And they were kind of animals, those bikes at the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but the first bike I rode, the first Ducati was the first bike that GG changed. So it was called the 14.2.
Yep.
So the 2014 bikes, second version, was the first one of GG. And that's where the Panigale is based off, kind of this bike.
And so how difficult was your first ever pure GP bike? Like what
was
like even just like the power, the delivery, like
was so good.
Like that's got to be something.
Yeah, but I don't remember. I was coming from the Avincia, from the forward bike. We should have stayed forward. Like I was able to sign the deal with them, and they signed the tech-free bikes, but the guy went in jail, the team owner. So again, I ended up in Avincia. Was good. I found a really good teammate as well. Barbera was fun. But I didn't add so much different. Like everything was better than the bike I had before. The bike was so good. And it was the first year of Michelin. And I was so fast from day one on that bike. Unfortunately, that year ended up being so unlucky for me. With big injury and taking out the 4 first race of the season. And then they take out the tire that I like, and I came back with injury. But this winter, I think, I remember Australia, race simulation faster than Mark, and I was like, oh, what's this? Yeah, that bike was good. It was so much fun riding those bikes, and so powerful. Like my first seamless gearbox from second to 6, that was crazy. Like the bike's not even moving on the straight line. Right. You go there and you feel like you have an automatic gearbox, like you're on D on your car, it just go, and you shift gear and it just doesn't do that. And I'm like, wow.
Now, when you came back to the GP paddock, or came to the GP paddock, you said you grew up with a lot of those guys, right? Mark and Maverick and Paul and all them. What was that like? Like, did they kind of like look at you like, where did you come from? Or obviously you're racing World Superbike, but was there any weird relationship there with those guys? Or it's kind of like just seeing the kids you went to high school with again,
Yeah, exactly. It was that. Like I felt like, when I was younger, I was going holiday with Maverick and his cousin Isaac. So we knew each other. We are not like really close friends, but I can say we are kind of friends. We talk to each other, and they knew me. Like they of course, Superbike guys watch the GP, and GP guys watch the Superbike, so they knew who I was. And I never felt like I didn't everyone was like, oh, it don't belong there. Even Lorenzo in a press conference, when they asked, I remember that press conference when they asked, I just signed, and they asked Rossi, and Rossi's like, yeah, he's really tall, I don't know, it's going to be tough, but yeah, and Lorenzo like, yeah, you don't know until you don't give the guy an opportunity. So yeah, that was cool, and yeah, no, it was nice seeing them again, because as I said, I followed my own mind and my own path going to GP with that dream at the end. They all went for 125, Scott Redding, Maverick, Mark, and then I catch them again in the GP, so it was cool coming back there.
Yeah. Now, is there like anything that you, obviously it was like your lifelong dream to get to MotoGP, but was there anything that was kind of like disappointing when you got there?
Well, of course, team, like the crew was good. Like all the crew I work with still in GP in the factory team. So I'm lucky, like the crew I had in Forward is mainly in KTM, and the crew I had in Avincia is mainly with Mark and Alex Marquez. So the crew was super good. But the team, you are in teams that are not there. They are there to make money. It's a business, and it also costs a lot of money, and they have to find money, and it's not ideal. Like the team coming from a factory experience, VIP. I mean, it's like, I don't know. You go to see a race here being VIP. You are in the box and everything, or you go and you watch from. You don't have access to the track, and you have to just hear the bikes. That's almost like sometimes you are. Everything was good, but you could see like the team was okay. It's a business, and sometimes it just mechanics are not paid, and that's the down thing of this world that people doesn't know. Like there is many guys that it's business, and the team are not more like they are not good guy. Or, like there is good guy, but not everyone is good guys. So you can see some mechanics that are not paid, and that guy that went in jail. All those things, it's like. You hear so many crazy things. If you're in a factory team, those things never happen. So that was the down thing, of course. But again, like a horse running out my thing, and I was just like, I'm in GP. That's where I want to be. I'm riding the bike I want.
Did you ever not get paid in GP by anybody? Like, was it? Oh,
yeah. Like the end of 15, because he went in jail, he was still owing me some money. In 16 until the day my manager, like my dad was like, let me go in the box, I will get the money. All the mechanics, he didn't pay any mechanic after even half season. At the end, he ended up almost paying everyone because Dorna asked him, if not, they were taking his spot in Moto2. But when my manager allowed my dad to go in the box and he went in the box, took the guy, punched him in, like put him in against the wall, like just pay my son. Oh yeah, but I don't understand. Your son is the guy who owned less money. Yeah. So it's easier to pay. Just pay him. So yeah.
That's crazy.
He did that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
During the Moto2 session, my dad came, I need to talk to you. Didn't punch him or anything, just took him like, hey, pay my son.
Is your dad big too?
No.
No.
It's like,
really?
Yeah. He's your size and like, gray hair.
Walks in next to you.
Gray hair. But he didn't do anything bad.
Yeah.
Like I haven't been in the box and punching him in the face or anything. It was just coming in the box, like your own money. It was not a lot. It was like 15,000-20,000 euro. But, again, like, I was not making $1 million in that moment. So I needed like all the money. And, what people don't realize is most of the money we make, we invest that on training better, trying to buy a supermoto, trying to go training in Spain. I was paying my physical trainer. Paying my trainer to come on the track. So 60% of the money you make, you invest that to try to ride better. So you needed that money. But that was so funny. I just didn't want anyone to think that he could not pay me. So.
I also think people think it's like, I don't know, like, how did your deal work with traveling? Was it all covered, or did they give you a lump sum? I think it's a misconception, like in America, but I think in Europe, you pretty much get a lump sum and you kind of have to sort yourself out, or how does that?
So every contract is different. In Kawasaki, they were dealing that themselves, so just booking everything themselves. In MotoGP, I had a contract, and then outside of the contract, I had like 30, 40, whatever for my travel, and I was doing myself alone. So if I want to just fly business, and then I spend everything, I cannot ask anything. If I want to spend less and keep the rest, I can. But I mean, most of the time you don't have anything left at the end. So yeah, that's how it works. It depends the contract you get.
All right, sorry guys, but we just had like a power cut. Somebody decided to chop the breaker. So hopefully we didn't lose everything. But we got audio, and we're going to get back into this thing. Should we just roll with the recharge your battery thing?
Yeah, I don't remember where we were, so yeah.
All right, let's just... all right, we're going to go with our second segment with UASA battery. And this is a, recharge your battery with UASA battery. The most trusted battery in power sports since 1979. Loris, I mean, what would you say, like, after a weekend, like, how would you kind of recharge?
That's something that in a lot of sport you see guys training, but you don't know much here. Recovery is important. And as I said before, I was someone that didn't like training and I was not doing anything. And I became like a training addict. And I'm in the way now where my trainer have to send me a message like, I told you to recover now. Like, just don't go training. I told you to do nothing or just go an easy ride. And I'm the guy that wants to do always too much now. So recovery is so important. But after a weekend, it just depends. Like, I don't know. Every racetrack is different. Every race is different. Like Austin was exhausting. One of the things that I found this season and last year also really good is the cold water, cold plunge. Like we go in the water with Josh after the session. That's really making your body cool down really quick, and that's important. But after the weekend, I would just say like take a day off. Maybe just go for a really easy ride if you ride bicycle, but that's really easy. That needs to be zone 1 and like just chilling. You can even go with your wife and kids, and that's good like for the body just to clean all the toxic acid that you have. And I mean, I'm lucky I have my girlfriend with me, so I always have treatment all the weekend. And like if I have pain in my neck, we are tall. I always have pain everywhere on the bike, so she always crack my back. So I'm lucky. But osteopath, like chiropractor in the US, that's something I use a lot, being told to always put my body in the right place after a race. Like I go, when I was in GP and when Joyce was still studying, after every race I was going to the osteopath, so like the chiropractor, and that was helping me a lot. But yeah, massage is also good. But yeah, even like doing a day of nothing, just chilling, being at home.
Do you eat junk food?
Yeah, this year a bit more because my teammate is Josh. So I'm trying to do the Josh Herring diet sometimes to see if I'm getting faster, but it doesn't work on me. And Bobby was like, "Don't try it. It only works on Josh. You need to keep doing what you do." No, I think this year I took it a bit easier, like on my diet. But I'm someone that always like when I'm really like home. That's the hardest thing being here and living in the hotel. And eating always outside it's hard to keep your diet. But when I'm home or when I'm at the races, I weight my food and just to see what I take. I have a tracker to everything I take to lose weight. Like, he knows what I'm talking about. When you try to find the last thing and you think that losing 1 kilo will make it easier. But what I found is like it doesn't make so much difference. Like my best races and sometimes my best result I was not expecting that. Broken wrist in Portimao when I did those 3 podiums, 3 kilo more than the rest of the season because I could not train. I was on the podium in World Superbike, so just enjoying it. But yeah, the recovery side, Sunday night in France, I'm always when in Europe I'm always going to McDonald's. In US, no. Last in Austin was barbecue, and Monday night was In-N-Out. So it was pretty good.
I don't know, man. I saw you with your waffle in the morning at Austin.
On Monday morning?
Yeah, I saw you blowing a little.
But it was a long Sunday night evening with the guys. So I needed someone to be ready for the DRE.
Well, that's our UASA battery recovery segment. Thanks to UASA Battery for supporting the podcast. Like we said, setting the standard for power sports batteries since 1979. Each and every day starts with UASA Battery. You can go to uasabatteries.com to find your battery for your machine or to find your local UASA dealer. Do you think it's at what point did you feel like you obviously said GP was harder, so you needed to train more, but I feel kind of the same when you get to a certain age or point where all of a sudden it becomes like more of a necessity than maybe, like you said, like being younger, you're like, I'm in shape, I'm good, I'm getting good results, and there's no reason to train more than I need to. At what point did you feel like it became something you were actually like passionate about?
Well, I think just doing I don't know, like I'm doing things and I want to be good. Like I never do something without the target of doing good. Like I love to cook, but I want it to be good. I'm always trying to learn and seeing some YouTube video to like getting better. So I started training with trainers, and I think now we are in a generation we have a lot of data. So you go cycling and you have your Garmin and you have your power meter and you can compare yourself. So I don't know. I just love. It's like a kind of a geek side, and then you just compare yourself to Tadej Pogacar doing zone 2 at 350 watts, and you're like, okay, why am I even looking at that? But I like it. I mean, it's just also when I want to lose weight, like I'm always I'm never big, like, but when I want to lose the 2 last kilo, I have to take it as a challenge. So I go like, okay, it goes a challenge. I'll weight myself every day and I want to lose weight. And so I lose quick because I'm doing that. Like I'm tracking what I eat. But then if I don't do that, I will always eat something between my meals. And if I take it as a challenge, it's like when I'm on the bike, there is nothing that can put me outside of that. I can go out with friends and I bring my own food. And so it's I don't know, like the competition mindset and the racing mindset, I put that to everything in life, which is sometimes I think really hard for the people I live with, because I'm always like, I want to win and I want to be faster and I want to be better and I want to be lighter. So I will always have the challenge. But yeah, I think 2015 when I started cycling more is where I started to like it, really like the cycling. And I'm not as crazy as Aleix Espargaro doing races and stuff, but I like it.
Yeah, we talked about that with Ben, like how hard it is to be around people who are normal.
Yeah.
Not that we're abnormal, but just around people who are used to just a normal life.
Yeah, the mindset, like especially sometimes I like even playing cards, like play the Uno with my family, but like they know me and all my friends know me since I'm really young. I said I don't have any friend that's only here for 2 or 3 years. But if I meet some random people, they will be like, that guy, no, it's not
crazy.
normal. Yeah, whatever I do on the car, whenever 1,000 miles trip to Spain, in my car, I need a challenge every time. Like I want to get there as quick as possible, or then I will, even if I'm bored in the car, then I will try to get the lowest fuel consumption possible, trying to save something. That for nothing. I don't even know why I'm doing that, but it's just a challenge and I like it. Like I need
That's
to
funny.
get better at something, at least in the car.
Yeah.
Do you think that, kind of going back, saying that you didn't really go to school, but you sound like, just from talking to you have a very big technical background, and, hear the side of things with, training and how deep you got into weighing your food and stuff like that. I mean, you can't be dumb or stupid, or you can't be like, you have to kind of be switched on to have that. Now moving into the motorcycle side of things, it sounds like you have a really big technical background of learning electronics and understanding the bikes and little things here and there, seat heights and whatnot. Is that something that you really deep dived into and you really enjoy, and has it helped or hurt you jumping on new motorcycles?
I always try to stay away from that. It's hard when you get older because you have more experience, but I always try to stay away from the setup. Even if this year I haven't been able to do because we had some problems, so then you want to understand what's wrong. But I always try to leave the work of my crew chief to my crew chief. That's why crew chief is so important, that a relationship you have. And if you have a crew chief that you trust, it makes your life, even if he does the same as another one, but if you trust him, you go out and you are faster. Even if the bike is the same as another guy, because you know that this guy knows you and you trust him. So I try to stay away because he have his job. I don't like the riders that want to set up the bike. I also think that it's bad because every year it's different, every session is different, and if you know exactly, you might think that something is bad because you tried it 2 weeks ago, and even if you are open-minded and you know that every time it changes, you always have that thing in your back, that didn't work, I crashed with that 2 weeks ago, I was slow. So I try to stay away from that, and it's definitely something that when I stop, I will go deeper with the technical side to understand more things. But I love the data. I love taking the computer and the mouse and just trying to go through the lap and see the difference between the riders, but always more on the riding side than the technical side.
Do you understand the technical side?
Yeah, I understand. Like I I'm not an engineer. Like I understand how it works, like the ride aids, the length of the bike, and the angle and so. But even the engine. My dad is a mechanic, so I grew up in that. But I'm not. I don't have a big passion of that. But I'm sure that as soon as I retire, that's something. Depending what I do, something I would like. I would like to work with kids and stuff like that, like academy of things. So it's something that you really need after that.
So when you jump from, I mean, you've ridden almost every manufacturer. How do you go in with a, Men in Black, flashed mind to just absorb what, say, you go from the Ducati, a GP, to the BMW and World Superbike, or vice versa, or go from different superbikes, in World Superbike versus American Superbike here, or MotoAmerica Superbike. Like, how do you not drag it with you or pick and choose the best stuff? Like, that's got to be very difficult. The more knowledge you get, you have to pull, good experiences from somewhere.
Yeah, well, I think the experience make it harder in that way. It doesn't make sense when I think about that, but it's just what I feel. It's like I always love jumping one bike to the other, going to BSB, being fast after 5 laps. I remember months in 2012 where I did 5 races on 5 different bikes with 3 different brand of tire, and I was like almost podium every weekend, and I was fast. But jumping on the bike, I love that. I really love that, and I think the experience, it's again the same thing. Like you want to what's working, what's not working. So you have the more you know yourself, the more you know what you like. But also it's cool sometimes to do it even when you're 30, 31, to jump somewhere and try to be fast as quick as you can, because it keeps you younger. Like I like it. Sometimes go fast with a bike that is not ready to go fast. But yeah, I mean, I think I've been pretty good with all my life with that. The hardest change that I did was going to the BMW in 2022. When I went back on that bike from the V engine on the Ducati, I was there in Jerez, and I was not fast straight away, but I was one of the fastest. And I was still faster than the BMW, so I was pretty good doing that, but we were slow compared to the Ducati. But it's something, I know some riders hate that. Like a guy like Lorenzo, I'm sure he hates that because he knows himself so much. He knows exactly 1 degree of handlebars. But I think because I did endurance. That's what endurance taught me. Because in endurance, you ride. I did the first race with Steve Martin, that was way shorter than me, way lighter. And then Igor Yerman was way bigger than me and 15 kilo more. It was 100 kilo, 110 with the leather. And you do the same lap time, and you have to go fast. You jump on the bike the first time, you're like, oh, it's not going to work. And then you go fast.
You adapt, yeah. Yeah, I think that's even working with, when you do like one-on-one coaching or whatever, and you talk with people and they're like, I need to, my springs or my bike is spinning so much, or I need to change this, and this, or it's like the bike is the last portion. you can no problem. You can adapt your body and just everything around the bike quite a lot.
Well, we are.
You gonna make it, dude?
I'm gonna die. I don't know. I talk too much. That's why. No, I'm saying. I think people forget that we are. I don't know. Half of the weight of a bike, and we move. It's not a car. Like we're not sitting. We move so much. Like a riding position and riding, you can change all the setup. We are talking about 1 millimeter sometimes, half a millimeter of preload. And when they have that software that show you what it actually changed on the bike, and it will change the position of 0.4 in the rear and 0.3 in the front. But then you just move your ass like 1 centimeter on the front, and you move like 80 kilo on the front, and you're like, that changed the whole bike. So you can do a lot with your body. That's what you should teach the kids. It's not like setting up the bike and having the best bike when you grow up. I think that's good even to have the worst bike when you grow up and you learn, and just try to make them ride the bike better.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's something like being teammates with PJ. He's always been able to kind of like shut his brain off and make the bike work somehow.
Yeah,
And
he's good at that.
Yeah, he's good at that. So, kind of going back to the GP thing. Obviously, that was your lifelong dream. At what point did you kind of realize that it was coming to an end?
Like that, unfortunately, because I was almost going to sign 1 or 2 more years. with a 1-year-old bike instead of a 2 years old bike. But yeah, so a guy came. Well, a rider had a big budget behind him and came to take our seat, and the team was losing some sponsors, and so yeah, Tito Rabat came to take Barbera's post, and then Simeon at the last moment came to take mine, which is okay. I mean, I understand some riders like I don't have anything against that. Like,
Yeah,
if I had money, I would do that.
it's business.
If I have a sponsor behind me, I would go and buy a seat straight away somewhere. So that's the life. But yeah, that's so it came like a shock, and I was that made the next season harder because it was really late in the season, and to find something in Superbike was tough. So it was a sad end, and it also made the last year a bit different because I wanted to have a podium so bad. I finished 2 or 3 times fourth. And we had some race on mixed condition in that year, and I was fourth again in Misano, and I was like, there's no way I'm finishing fourth. And I could see the third one starting to pull away. And I'm like, okay, I switched the brain off. I'm like, third or nothing. And then I crashed. And same in Malaysia. So it would have been I think 2 4th or 5th place again. But that year, and my crew chief was always angry at me that year. And then I told him, he didn't know I was leaving. When I knew I was leaving, then I told him, I said, that's why I crashed those races, because I wanted a podium. Like, I didn't need a 4th place. Like, I already did that. So. But yeah, it was a sad end because I'm sure like that year was good. I was pretty fast on that bike.
How do you deal with that? Like, when you've done something for your entire life to get to where you are, and then it's going away. Like, how do you deal with that mentally?
Well, you just put yourself new target. Like, you have the dream is the thing that needs to give you the energy of your life and a point where you want to get, but then the targets are the small achievements. So then it was just, okay, going back to Superbike, trying to win again, maybe coming back. One thing I learned in my career is like, it's never happening the way you think it's gonna happen. There is always like something changing. Like for me, when Aspar broke the contract, I was like, okay, it's done. Then I went to Forward. When the Forward went in jail, I was like, okay, it's done. Then Avincia came from nowhere. After Avincia, I went to that BMW Altea. Should have not, but like that's the opportunity I should have not taken. Wait, stay home, and wait something better. But I didn't know. And then after that, I was home. I did the move to stay home, and one of the 2 best year came with 10K and the Yamaha. That was good year. And again, I was promised by so many people to have the factory bike and factory ride, and that didn't happen. COVID, the team switched off, the Superbike project goes super sport, and I'm home, nothing. And I never expected to get a call to come here from Ferracci. And I have that 83 years old guy calling me, hey, you want to race MotoAmerica? Yeah. So yeah, it's never happening the way you think. So that's also exciting, because even when it's also a good thing to stay motivated and healthy and training even when you have nothing. And that's a good advice for all the people, the kids that are sometimes lose the ride. It's like, you can have a call whenever, and it's gonna change your life. So.
This is something that I've wanted to ask you is, did you the way you say it sounds like you get a lot of phone calls, or were you picking up the phone? Were you picking up the phone to your manager? Like, how does that work in your career, bouncing around the way you have?
Well, most of the time I received a call. Sometime in GP, like the Avincia, it was not a call, it was my manager doing his walk in the paddock and trying to find the Forward was the same. But like, yeah, Kawasaki was a call. 10K, we make it walk all the winter, was a long process. But this here was a call. I remember the call from Ferracci calling my manager. And like, I answered the phone, hung off, and like, nah, I don't feel like doing that. Go to sleep, wake up in the morning, and like, I need to do that. Like, yeah, it was, I don't know. I woke up in the morning, like, yeah, I called my manager. I said, yeah, it's done. I go there. Because there was COVID, like, and then I spoke with Bobby and we're like, you're coming. I don't know if you can fly back to Europe. You might be here for 8 months. I'm like, yeah, I'm coming. Don't worry. Let me know when you want me there, and I'm coming. So, yeah, I felt that, you feel that. But, yeah, so it's funny. Sometimes people think you're just using the terms phone call to, like, put something on what exactly happened. But yeah, the call from Ferracci was a call from Ferracci. It was 83 years old guy calling you. Yeah, you want to come and race here? Yeah,
That
I'm
is
coming.
crazy. And one other thing is there was a rumor that when your Bonovo deal, did you have another year at BMW?
Yeah,
But there was no seat.
they needed to make space for Toprak somehow. So
So how does that work?
my manager.
Figured.
No, I mean it was okay. I don't have any anger to BMW at all because you cannot say no to the opportunity to have Toprak. Maybe they could have done a team with 3 bikes. I don't know. If it would have happened the year before, I was not the one out. But last year, having my foot in the shape that it was, I was the lowest in the standings, so it was me. Yeah, it is like Eugene hates me to say it is what it is, like just one of those days. Like Eugene hates when the people says that, but yeah, it's true. Like there was nothing, so then we just try to end up the relationship in a good way and no anger. Like I mean, I saw Uwe from BMW in Mid Ohio. He was there with Cam and we spoke. There is no anger about that. Maybe a bit sad that something didn't work the way you wanted for many reasons, and the injury also that was big. But yeah, it's like that. So my manager, yeah, we just end up with the deal and compensation and things like that. But yeah, the main thing was to be able to come back here.
When you first came to MotoAmerica, the first year, you were kind of outspoken on certain things about the tracks and a little bit about the series and some of the decisions and stuff. So it's, I don't want to say surprising to see you come back, but has your perspective changed on that stuff at all?
No, I never really. I mean, I never complained. Like I know Danilo complained a lot about the tracks, and he was pretty harsh with that. But I didn't. Like I always said, I race BSB, and the tracks are even sometimes worse than here. I always said I'm gonna come back to BSB one day. So I'm this kind of rider that likes it. I just told. There was just the only thing I complained in 21 is the riders that was racing against complaining about my riding style and crying. That I don't like it. So I was just complaining about some riders that were complaining about me. But the tracks and the series, there's things they could do better for sure. Like I mean, but I was just explaining what was our problem on the bike. Our problem on the bike was the bumps on the tracks here, especially the Ducati didn't like it. We had to take bolts away from the frame to like try to make the bike softer. We tried everything. So when people were like, "Why you're not winning?" there, I'm like, "Yeah, for many reasons. For like the teams is brand new, something doesn't work in the crew, and then the tracks, yeah, they're shit for a bike. It's too bumpy." But yeah, it was not like I don't like it, and it's I was so yeah. Always, even when I left, I was planning to stay, and when I left, it was a heartbroken decision to make the phone call to Bobby and Louis. Like I have opportunity for a factory contract in Superbike, but I told them I'm gonna be back. I will be back, and if I come back in America, it will only be with you. So that was there was nothing against really the track, but I knew. But obviously, coming back a second year, you know where you're going. You know what to expect.
Yeah.
I think as well as just going on that a little bit more, you have a lot on social media. You're really good on social media. But one thing is on Twitter, you have been known to speak your mind, especially with different journalists and this, that, and the other. You've been around and saw a lot. Has that always been your kind of MO, like speak your mind, not be afraid to talk and kind of speak what you believe?
Not anymore. Unfortunately, less. And that's what we are sad off with Josh, because I like to speak my mind. I like to be myself. I like to be the person I am, and I think that's what the people like. But you can't anymore, because you can't. We are in a world where the business is like that, and you can't shock anyone. You can't hurt the feeling of anyone. So it's like that. I learned it the hard way in my career, doing a bad comment on Twitter about something, and it cost me a lot in my GP ride.
What do you mean when you say it cost you a lot? What is that like?
Well, I almost lost the ride in the mid-season because I said something that I should not have said on Twitter. So, but you learn the hard way sometimes. And social media is amazing, but you need to take care, especially now when you cannot hurt anyone. So, but yeah, when I have a feeling or a thought about safety or something like the incident from Toprak in Manico. That's bullshit. Should not happen. Like, okay, that should not happen. Like, it should not hit a wall there. Then, of course, I don't know what should have been done because the wall is there because the bike used to cross the track. But is this incident already happened in French Superbike 2 months before, 3 months before? So they have like, they should know like there is a wall. So when I see something like that for me is so obvious, or when I see a journalist that speaks about racing and he doesn't know anything, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm just like, I'm just saying what I think, and I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like the incident between Bastianini and Martin last week, people ask me, and I'm like, if I make the rules, if I make the full rules, there is nothing racing. But the rules actually, all the penalty that they give to everyone, yeah, Bastianini should drop one position, with the actual rules. So I'm trying to sometimes just say like what I think easy, but also trying to think twice what I'm writing.
Yeah, it's tough. Everyone is. Even like now that we have the podcast, you know, you see that a lot. There's always somebody who has, you know, a difference of opinion.
Yeah.
Or is very sensitive or,
really
or
sensitive.
whatever the case is. Now, was there, you know, I kind of assumed last year because of knowing that you had the additional year with BMW that you didn't end up here on the BMW with like Tittlers or something because they had an open spot. Was that ever even discussed?
No. Just like for 5 minutes, but honestly for me, like always sit up, like call my manager or be with him. He was at every race last year, so it was just like, he said, what are we doing? I'm like, option A, staying in Superbike, option B, MotoAmerica, but with the same guys. Like, I don't want to hear anything else. I'm not going in America with another team. And even when I called Bobby the first time, like the only thing he offered me was maybe a bagger and a super sport. I said, okay, I'm not doing that, but if you have a Superbike, call me. And then we make it happen. But yeah, I could not have come back in another team. And I really wanted to ride a Ducati again as well.
Yeah. What was so hard about the BMW?
No, I mean, it was a really good bike. I think, you know, when you are in a positive circle, everything is shining and everything you do get better. And when you're in a negative spiral, that's the hardest. And I was in that all year last year. I mean, I had a good first year on the bike. A good winter, good first race. In Mandalika, I was fast. Like, I was the fastest on the BMW. And then, I mean, Alex ran on my foot and completely destroyed all my ankle. And then I could not ride well for the whole season because my ankle was locked. So I could not put my foot. And then, in addition, so many technical problems last year where I had to start from the pit lane in Portimao, unfortunately, you know. So it was a weekend where I was fast. The only weekend was smooth and almost nothing happened. Just Garrett took me out in FP1, so it was. But that was Imola. And it was Imola, and I think I finished 7 or something like that. So it was okay. But it was really hard to go out of that negative. You know, like especially being unfit, really in pain. That was the hardest. But also like every time, I was just. You try to not think about that. You're just like, okay, what's happening next? What's happening next? You know.
Did it surprise you to see Top Rack do as well right away, having ridden the bike last year?
So well, no. So well, yes, but well, no. I was expecting him to do well.
Right.
I was expecting him to win races this year, not dominating, but I was expecting. There's been a change in BMW last year in the organization and the organigram and the people there. That made me want to stay, and I did everything I could to stay there. Because there was some new people coming, and I could feel they understand the way. And then I know Top Rack is kind of magic rider, and he belonged to MotoGP. I like it. He has something more. He has something that I've never seen in any rider. He come also from a way that nobody's doing, like coming from stunt and doing stoppie and wheelie. And I think that he should have an opportunity in GP, like just to see what he's doing. I would be sad, like to know what he's doing, but he's able to do that.
Yeah, they talked about that with Ben. We talked about that with Ben the last podcast. You know, but it was also interesting because of hearing Ben's perspective about not going to GP.
Yeah.
You know, Ben talked about like, you know, stretching out a superbike career where you can win forever, or you know, for a long time versus going to GP and maybe being a top 8 guy. You know, like what's better?
Yeah, I think that's a personal point of view, and nobody can decide for you.
Yeah.
But looking from the out, I remember Ben for what he did in Superbike for sure, but I remember Ben for the GP, like what he did there. And for me, like he's been unlucky that year in Yamaha where all the thing happened. But like, what would have happened if that year was okay? Like he was. I remember him for like trying to reach. That's what I like in life, trying to reach your limit. It's cool to be. I mean, if Toprak is 6, 7 time world champion, that's cool. But if you've never been in GP, I would like to see him, even if he doesn't win. You know, just to see, even for yourself. Like that's the way I see. That's why I'm saying it depends. Every human being is different. But like I know that I'm the kind of people that I want to see my limit. Like
Yeah.
I want to see what I'm able to do.
Maximum potential.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this year, coming back to the U.S., you had some really good results in your first season with Ducati and MotoAmerica. This year seems to be a lot more difficult. You've had times where it's been good, but what do you attribute that to? Because in theory, right, you have more data. The bike is, I think, better. I don't know.
Well, it's it's definitely a season where I'm not doing what I'm aiming for. The beginning of the season was mainly because I was end up riding. Like I needed time to come back to my level. When you have a year like I had last year, it's mentally exhausting, and you need to be able to find back your way of riding, and you need time. And we didn't test this winter. We came back to the first race with 1 day testing, so I needed time. And then by Barber, I was ready faster, and then I arrived to a level. And then when I felt I was riding good, I didn't see like the. Now I really feel like since 3, 4 races, I'm riding the bike well, but it's not like I cannot see in the result. I see on one lap, but not in the race pace. But it's coming from also, many things. Sure, I have a responsibility in that, and I'm getting better. I know, like, I definitely want a third year, like a second year in a row, because I feel everything that's coming together. But also the team, like, the bike has changed a lot since 21, and we've been through changing the setup from the one I had in 21 to the one that Ducati wanted to ride from Italy. So, like, and the bike is completely different. Like, it's a bike like that and high to the bike long and low. So trying to, we don't ride a lot. Like, you have 40 minutes to figure out your bike on Friday morning. And it's just like you go with one. Like, every time we pound the bike in FP1, I'm having a good weekend. When we don't have the bike in FP1, then I'm struggling. So, this, and then the level is, there is more fast guys than 21. I haven't been riding as well as I wanted, but I'm coming back. Like, I came back to right level, like I think in the Ridge when I did the pole. I was really happy with that. It was like a weight off my shoulder, because it was like coming back in the box and looking at my girlfriend. I'm like, oh, I'm fast again. Like, I didn't lose it. Like, I'm fast again. And I just, like, I didn't lose. They think I lost it, like PJ said.
Yeah.
But
Do you think, like, after you have a year like last year, do you have like some doubt?
You go through some doubt a lot, and the mental aspect is super important. But I'm also someone that believe a lot in myself, and you keep the good moment, what you did good, like, as motivation. I remember what I did when I went back in Superbike on that Ducati, and I'm like, could have win that race if I had a good start. So I'm like, you know how to do it, just time. But the injury last year has been the worst, like the big injury. And then this year I start the first race, and we have this incident with Richie, and I broke again the same ankle, and race in Barber when this happened with the lap. I didn't broke the knee, but I had a torn ligament in the knee. So it's almost like the injury was never ending. And since that, I haven't been injured, and I feel better and better physically, and that's a game changer when you're like feeling healthy,
That's pretty cool. It's good to see as well that you're getting some, good bike fitness and getting back to where we know you can be. Kind of off the cuff question though, and it's a weird one, but how do you the best bike you've ever ridden, the best super bike that you've ever ridden, how do you think it would compare to what you have now, like that 2014 KRT bike? Like, if I know it's just so far off the cuff, but it's something that I've always wanted to ask somebody. Like, you rode a factory World Superbike and arguably their best time. What do you think it would do here? Like, would it be still crazy, or have we moved so far along with technology?
I think we moved. It's hard to remember. Like, honestly, it's hard. Sometimes I want to remember. In my mind, the best superbike I ever rode was that Go 11 bike in Jerez and Portimao. That was good. That was really... The feeling I had that those two races was like those days where you feel I'm the best. Like in Portimao, honestly, I had really bad starts all races, but like I was there and I'm like, that bike's so easy. I was not doing any mistake. You know, you go to the apex, pick up the bike. I could do whatever I wanted. The bike was going. I was just looking at the apex and I was going there. So that was a good bike. The Kawasaki, it's hard because it's such a long time ago, and you also don't know what the tires, but that bike was good. Like the 2014 Kawasaki was good, I think. But if you put it now on the straight, even now the bike in Atlanta, I remember like I feel the bike slow. So we have the data from 21, and we put the data from 21 compare, and I'm like 10k faster on the straight, and we're like, oh. And I'm like, oh, that's slow because I just went out against the BMW and the BMW was going away. So I was like, the bike is slow. We need to go faster. I think we have maybe 30 or 35 horsepower than what we had in 2014 or 40 maybe. I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it just improves so much.
Yeah.
It's so interesting to say. We did it with Ben as well, and he really talked about his 2007 or 8 Yoshimura Superbike. Saying it was the best bike he ever ridden, and it's kind of, I feel like that the Yoshimura day and the KRT day is like kind of, they're very similar, right?
Yeah.
They both had like unlimited budgets. They did some
exactly.
crazy stuff.
That's cool. You feel like it's so good because you can have whatever you want. I remember coming to the winter test with Kawasaki with, I don't know, the box on the day before, like frames, swing arms, engines, forks, trying different forks, different brakes, brake pad, brake caliper, disc, wheels. And you're like, wow. And I think we did the test in Jerez. Well, yeah. At the end of day 3, 280 laps, 290 laps. And they're like, we might do a 4th day. I'm like, like Tom wants, like we were trying all-ins and Showa back to back. So now we did 4 days. So yeah, it was 4 days, 300 laps. And they were like, we might do a 5th day. I'm like, why? They want to compare again back to back Showa all-ins. I'm like, well, anyway. My decision, I'm not making the decision. Tom will decide, right? Okay, so he's doing it. I'm done. It's not just like too many things to trust.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy.
You said Josh has been kind of one of your better teammates or the best teammate. I'm not sure, but over the years, who has been kind of your? I'm sure you've had favorites and you've had least favorites. So, who are like some of the guys you hated having as a teammate? Obviously, kind of know one probably. But
I'm lucky, to be honest. I mean, the one I hated was Tom. Even if we got better the last years, we never talked so much in the last couple of years. Like we never talked for like 10 years, and the last 2 years we've been talking together. We also had a big crash in Donington when they ran over him, and I was the first one like to open, like go to him, bring him to medicals. So then after that we talked a little bit. But yeah, after Tom, I only had like good teammates. Like I had Stefan Bradl in forward, was okay. It was okay. Didn't become friends or anything, but it was okay. Then I had Barbera, who was a really fun guy. He's a good guy to go holiday with. He's a good guy to
Pacha.
go. Oh, yeah.
Ibiza.
Yeah. But he's a crazy one. But he's a nice guy. And after that, I've been alone for many years. Like 18, 19, 20, 21, no teammates. And then 22, Eugene, such a nice guy. So it's the cool thing is I went from 22 Eugene to 23 Garrett. So it was like going from my dad to my brother, kid, I don't know. But Garrett was also so nice. But everyone different, like, Eugene's so organized, meticulous, everything like that. And then always felt like I'm the one leaving all my stuff around in the truck. And then Garrett came, and I was like, oh, I'm so organized compared to that guy. I was the guy charging his leather before the race week because he forgot.
Eating a block of cheese, probably.
I was the one fitting his airbag in the leather because he forgot to do it. And then, Josh. And Josh is like, I don't know if because I'm in the US and I spend also much more time with him, but yeah, from day one, like, we really get on really well, spend time with him in his house. And I think it's, obviously, we have a lot of, we are different in some way and really similar in other way, but we see the racing the same. Like, the fact that we are sad that we cannot be ourselves and say the things we want and be like we want, that's really something we share. And then, I think, even my girlfriend and him, my girlfriend with Griffin, Rachel, we're really close, so that's cool. Like, it's like, I know that Josh is definitely someone I will keep relationship with, even if I'm not his teammate in the future.
You think it would be different if you met a younger Josh and a younger Loris?
Will be harder for the teams, sure. for Bobby. Maybe.
You know, because you get like he definitely he's emotionally matured. You know,
Yeah.
specifically.
You don't really know the old Josh.
No, I don't know.
He's
I don't know.
wild.
I don't know, but I can imagine. But I think it would be maybe we would be fired by race too if we were younger.
Yeah,
because
probably.
I mean, you know, like we will be like, oh, should I post that? Oh yeah, come on, post that. You know, like now at the moment it's like, you think it's okay to post that? And he goes like, no. And then the next day it's him asking me, you think it's okay if I post that? I'm like, yeah, for me, yeah, but not for them. And he's like, okay. So I think if we were 18 now, it would be, you think I should post that? Oh yeah, sure.
You can totally you can see he's really like polished up.
Yeah, well, again, no choice. We have no choice. That's what sometimes people complain, but we have no choice because
Yeah. It's
you
just
have
the
to
way it
understand
is.
it's a business, and we ride for big factories and big brand and big sponsor behind us, and that's the way it is for them. Like they have so many people, like you have for the podcast. Can you imagine a brand like Ducati? How many messages we receive? So I'm against that. I want to be myself, and there is sport where they can be themselves, but we have to be like this because we, at the end, we are paid and we work for someone, so we have to respect what they are asking us.
I think on that note, we gotta.
Yeah.
Our boys gotta
We're
kind of go here.
Have you listened to a full podcast before?
Not full.
It's easy. Nobody ever knows. You want me to do it? You got it.
I'll do it. I'll do
All
it.
right,
You did the
go,
last
go.
one.
You go.
So, what's the worst thing you've ever done? Like have you ever gotten in trouble, arrested?
Yeah.
Speeding ticket?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure, a lot. I drive fast, yeah, that's really fast.
All right. So you got arrested for a speeding ticket.
I haven't been in jail. I haven't been in jail, but they took my driving license for like 6 months.
No
and
way.
they took my car for a week. Yeah.
All right. So you're in jail, hypothetically speaking. You're in jail. You're speeding too much, and you're on death row. They're gonna put you in the electric chair. What's your last meal? You're gonna your last drink,
Oh.
last food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, the whole deal. What are you picking?
Red wine for sure. Good red wine.
French red wine?
Yeah, of course. Not Italian. And then, I don't know. I will ask my mom to cook for me. Whatever she wants.
Just a home cooked meal.
Yeah, my mom is the best food. I don't know, just like, I think meat, like a lot of meat. The dessert will be the mousse of chocolate mousse from my mom. And then, yeah, some meat and yeah, I don't know, whatever my mom cooks, it's good. So yeah, I will ask my mom to cook for me.
Just a home cooked meal.
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing special. Is there nothing that she's cooked that's like that's
French
it?
specialty.
I mean, yeah, we have a lot of things in France, but I love the food that I eat the most is the Italian one. Let's say like I like to cook the pasta, the risotto, all those things. But my mom cook, like the place where I live in France is a place where a lot of cheese are made. So we have a lot of cheese, like the fondue, the raclette, the thing with you have the tartiflette, that's potato and cheese on the top. That's pretty good. But I think I will have some meat in my last one. And I don't know. I think I would do wine more than anything.
Just wine.
Just red
Put a
wine.
straw
I
in
want
it.
to forget that chair. Man. Give me like 10 bottles of red wine.
I love it.
Get
Whoa.
drunk.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Loris, thank you so much for coming
Thanks to
on.
you guys.
Hopefully we didn't fuck the video. See if Billy do some scientific
Do your
scientific
best.
stuff.
Do your best,
Yeah.
Billy. We need you.
But,
we need you.
But either way, yeah, thanks very much
Oh,
for
you're
coming
welcome.
on, and hopefully have a good weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
Finish the year off strong, and hopefully we'll see you again next year. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have decided yet or have.
Oh, I
have gotten
want you.
there, but
That's the target, but I need to go. I need to go fast.
yeah.
Amazing. It's
I
been
need to go
amazing
back.
listening to your story and what you've wrote and come through. So thanks so much for being on Pipe Dreams.
Thank you. Thank you, I guess.
All right.